Good afternoon. Welcome to the Panama City City Commission meeting for July 28th at 4:30. We are going to start off with the opening prayer by Reverend Heath Taws, Senior Pastor at First Presbyterian, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Brian Granger. Please rise.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, we just thank you for this beautiful day you've given us. Lord, we thank you for just a beautiful place in which we live. We are so thankful for Bay County, Lord, and I'm thankful for the privilege that these men and women have to serve the wonderful people of Bay County. And I just ask that everything that's said and done here tonight, Lord, would have a spirit of peace and unity and integrity, Lord, that everything you would just guide these commissioners and our mayor, Lord, just give them wisdom beyond themselves, Lord, to know how that they might do what's best here for the people who live in Bay County, Lord. We ask that all this would be pleasing to you and that ultimately would bless the people they have been called to serve. We do pray it all in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, Pastor Taws. You'll join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Please call the roll.
Mayor Branch.
Present.
Commissioner Lucas.
Present.
Commissioner Granger.
Present.
Commissioner Street.
Here.
Commissioner Hughes.
Here.
Mayor, you have a quorum.
You've received the meeting minutes for July 14th. Do I have a motion to accept?
Motion to accept.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas.
Yes.
Commissioner Granger.
Yes.
Commissioner Street.
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Mayor Branch.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Any additions, deletions, or modifications to the agenda today?
None from staff, Mr. Mayor.
Any from the board?
We are welcome to talk about this, but I would like to table the item in consent regarding request for severance pay from the city clerk until we get a formal response from our auditor. That was one of the big reasons why she stayed on, was to finish the audit. So I'd like to get a status report on that.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Do we have a ETA on that, or?
I think the auditor is going to provide us back with a response and an update on where we're at.
Pretty soon?
I can request a status update on the audit from our auditor if the board wishes to do that.
Okay, any other discussion on tabling 9B?
Are we tabling it indefinitely, or would you like to bring it back at a certain time, Mayor,
I think
Commissioners?
as soon as we get back a report from the auditor would be.
Just put it on the commission meeting after that. Okay,
Yeah.
sounds good.
And just in addition, since there's only 2 items on consent, I was planning to talk about 9 Alpha anyway. So I don't know if we need to just strike consent altogether and just roll right into it when it comes,
Yeah,
or?
might as well.
Okay.
The audience, I don't think can hear you guys.
Yeah. You can't even hear me?
Check.
Yeah.
Is it just really low?
Yeah.
I think it's just really low.
Yeah, just get
We'll
maybe
move
closer
the
to your mic.
microphone
Don't be scared.
closer.
Yeah.
All right. So moving 9A off the consent agenda to talk, tabling 9B, waiting for that to be,
Yes, I'm in my motion to accomplish making 9A an item for discussion.
And I will second that.
okay. Any other discussion on those 2 items? All right, seeing no discussion, please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas.
Yes.
Commissioner Granger.
Yes.
Commissioner Street.
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes.
Yes.
Mayor Branch.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay, we are on community
right.
announcements.
As summer comes to a close and Panama City eases into a new season, staying informed helps everyone keep moving smoothly. Sign up for City Alerts to get updates straight to your inbox or smartphone. From road closures and project updates to boil water notices and more, we'll keep you informed year-round. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit panamacity.gov to sign up today. Tomorrow, July 29th, is the final day to drop off donations at City Hall for the annual school supply drive. This effort helps local students start the school year prepared for success. City employees and community members are encouraged to contribute new school supplies, including backpacks and essential classroom materials. Donations can be delivered to the City Hall Rotunda during regular business hours, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. For more details, including a full list of accepted items, please visit panamacity.gov. All donations from the school supply drive will support the Parks, Culture, and Recreation Department's back-to-school backpack giveaway on Saturday, August 1st at Daffin Park from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. Each child will receive one backpack filled with supplies, and the child must be present to receive it. Since summer break is almost over, we want to remind drivers that the automated school zone speed enforcement program will begin full enforcement when students return for the 2026-2027 school year. Full enforcement, including the $100 notice of violation, will begin on Monday, August 10th. Drivers are encouraged to stay alert and obey the speed limit in school zones throughout the day to help keep children and staff safe. For more information about the program, including a list of impacted schools, their school zone hours, and answers to frequently asked questions, visit panamacity.gov. The next town hall meeting will be held this Saturday, August 1st at 8 a.m. at City Hall. Town halls give citizens an opportunity to share their ideas, raise their concerns, and ask their questions directly with the Panama City Commission and senior city staff. Unlike commission meetings, which limit public comments to agenda items, these informal sessions allow open discussion on any topic. We welcome everyone to join us and be a part of the conversation that shapes our community. Join us for the groundbreaking ceremony at Joe Moody Harris Park on Tuesday, August 4th at 9 a.m. Get a first look at the new design plans and learn more about the timeline for completion as we celebrate this exciting step forward. Business tax receipt renewals are now open for all businesses operating within the City of Panama City, including storefront, home-based businesses, food trucks, and short-term rentals. Renewals are due by September 30th, the end of this fiscal year, to avoid any late penalties and potential code compliance action. Renewal notices are emailed each summer, and businesses are encouraged to renew early. For more information or to renew, visit the Business Services page at panamacity.gov or contact the Business Services Division at 850-691-4603. Again, all of this information can be found on our website at panamacity.gov. All right, moving into public hearings, Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, item number 6A is the second and final of two public hearings on Ordinance 3307, an ordinance to vacate and abandon an alleyway and platted easement directly east of the parcel addressed at 519 East 6th Street with parcel ID 20220-000-000. North of East 6th Street and south of East 7th Street and east of Allen Avenue and west of Masalina Drive. Relevant background information is enclosed in your packet. Staff recommendation through the Director of Development Services is that the City Commission conduct the second and final of two public hearings and approve the ordinance. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, this is a public hearing. If you'd like to speak about item 6A, please come forward. Anyone want to speak about item 6A? Yes, sir. Good afternoon.
Walter P. Henry, 614 Maple Avenue. Nobody never answered this question. Is this where y'all will just close this alley? Is it behind the rescue mission? It's on 5th Street. It's at 519 East 6th Street. So I just wanted to, y'all talking about that alley, closing it. The thing I want to ask you, on the school laws, I want to know if those cameras are running day and night. Nobody can, I mean, everybody go try to get around it. Then I heard one time back before that you could run through that after school hours.
Oh, this item's about an alleyway abandonment on 6th
right.
Street, not cameras.
They're not cameras?
No,
What they
there's
are
no cameras
there?
on this alleyway abandonment. No, sir.
What are they? What those sitting there for? Those not cameras sitting there, taking everybody pass through that school zone, taking their, what? Correct. All right, I'll come back on that. I'd like to get your mind set on seeing, everybody like to know about this thing.
Yes, sir. Anyone else want to speak about item 6A, the alleyway abandonment? Seeing none, closing the public comments, I will entertain a motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion?
This is a reading. Are we voting?
This
It's
is
a
Yeah,
second.
this is final.
All right. Yes, no, none.
And Mayor, this is the item you'll be abstaining from?
Correct. Yeah. Please, any other discussion?
Well, just to answer the question, it's not over at the rescue mission, which is in the red. It's to your right in the gray, the black line in the gray, which is not near the rescue mission.
It's behind the Waffle Shop.
Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Abstain.
Abstain. And motion passes 4-0.
The mayor did abstain. It'll be filed with the clerk to avoid even the appearance of an impropriety because his family is involved with this property. Ordinance number 3307, an ordinance vacating and abandoning an alleyway and platted easements located directly east of the parcel address 519 East 6th Street, north of East 6th Street, south of East 7th Street, east of Allen Avenue, west of Massillenia Drive, Panama City, Florida, is more particularly described, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing for severability of any part if declared invalid, and providing for an effective date. Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, Commissioners, item 6B is the final reading and public hearing on ordinance 3308 for referendum to amend the city's charter. Attached as Exhibit 1 is the ordinance that places on the general election ballot for this November 3rd, 2026, a referendum question on whether or not the citizens desire to amend the city charter as proposed. The charter amendment will be adopted by the Commission per ordinance 3308. However, the ordinance is not effective until approved by the electors at the referendum in November 2026. The first reading and hearing was on July 14th, and the staff prepared a final reading based on feedback from the Commission for the final reading and hearing on July 28th here today. This ordinance still includes a single question. However, if you choose the option of 3 questions, you must refer to Exhibit 4, which contains that optional language. It may be substituted in the ordinance in place of the single question. Updated changes from July 14th of this year. Ordinance 3308 Exhibit B. The clean charter copy now includes the renumbering of articles and sections reflecting how the charter will appear once amended. Exhibit 4, in the alternative set of 3 questions, the added language in competitive elections has been added to question 1, underlined in red, in the attached exhibit for clarity and to match the language in the ordinance title. Relevant additional information and history surrounding this proposed amendment and the work on the charter is enclosed in your packet. That is all from the city manager's office, unless Mr. Zimmerman has anything to add.
No, that's
Yep.
good.
All right, Mr. Mayor, over to you.
Yeah, this is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 6B, the city charter, please come forward. Does anyone want to speak about the city charter? Seeing none, I am closing public comments, and I will personally kick off the discussion by just saying that I'm not super enthusiastic about either decision. I'm a little bit indifferent, but I am leaning towards one question because the changes in the charter are pretty conventional and normal and expected that other cities have done. And one question is just easier. Easier in my opinion.
I agree.
That's where I'm leaning. Any other thoughts?
I concur.
The idea of one sounds good, but there are a lot of easy yeses in there. And I'm concerned that if somebody doesn't like one of the issues, and they vote no, we don't get the easy yeses. So that directs me back to the 3 questions. And, not that you're trying to set that up, but you're setting up that if the easy ones pass, we can change. Yeah. If the hard ones don't, and I say easy, adding the pronoun she, because he was the only one that was in there. I mean, that's an easy one, okay? Updating the rules and regs to go with today's environment. Those are easy yeses. But we want to change when we have the election. I'm for it, but somebody might not be, and that would kill the easy yes. potentially. So while I agree with you that one sounds good, when I break it down, it might get easier for the voter to get there. So that just be my thoughts.
Yeah, I too share that concern that if we have just one question, if someone doesn't like one of those, they just vote no. Our Charter Review Committee and the citizens have worked very hard to get us to this point. And I think the option of 3 questions, but there's no crystal ball to say which will be the better choice. We'll just have to wait till November when the voters come.
Yeah, around these elections, there's so much angst from just everybody. And so to me, the one question, if we were doing some really fancy changes that were like, like some other cities are making some really interesting changes to their charter. Ours are all pretty, to me, basic government 101 stuff, cleanup stuff. So the 3 questions to me just, so it seemed like a little bit much, but I'll entertain a motion either way.
I'll move that we take option 3, approve what's come to us, with option 2 for 3 questions, rather.
Say that again?
That we approve the resolution going forward with option 2, including 3 questions.
So option 2 is the 3 questions. Okay, do I have a second?
So I'll second that for a question. If we go with that, does that mean the way that the questions are written today, that's what we're approving?
Yes.
Okay.
For clarification purposes, we did add 3 words to the first question of the 3-question option, just to be crystal clear that it says, and providing, quote, in competitive elections for 2 candidates to be on the November ballot. And so what that means is a non-competitive election is that nobody ran. And so it's just one person, only one person ran. So they would not appear on the ballot. They're elected, but then.
Elected at the end of qualifying week, basically.
Right, at the end. But if there is a competitive election, that's mirrors what the ordinance already says. It's nothing new, it's just being crystal clear.
So we're within our 75-word limit.
Yes, yes, it's 75 words per question, and we're well within that.
Anyone feel strongly against 3? Is there additional cost to doing 3? No?
No additional cost, sir.
No paperwork.
Yeah, I still prefer 1, but I'm not willing to make this massive deal out of it. I think that all of these are going to pass regardless, truly. I think they're pretty ambivalent as far as from the changes. So anyway.
Okay, do I have a second?
You already have a second.
I have a second. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
I'd like to read the title, and this will take just a minute to read. But this title calls for the referendum election on the charter, and it will provide in the body of the ordinance the 3 questions that are called option 2, that is attached as Exhibit 4 to your ordinance. And here's title to ordinance number 3308.
Before, are you still need to read the whole thing?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. I do want to make a comment once Devin's done after 15 minutes.
Take a breath. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Panama City Bay County, Florida, proposing an amended and restated charter entitled providing for a preamble, providing for home rule and construction of municipal powers, expanding the term of mayor from 2 to 4 years, aligning municipal elections with state and federal elections, moving the next election from 2027 to 2028, clarifying qualifications for commissioners, providing for 2 candidates to appear on the November ballot in competitive elections, providing for vacancies in commission, providing for commission rules of procedure, requiring charter officers to live in the city of Panama City, register to vote and hold office at the pleasure of the City Commission, reorganizing the powers and duties of the city manager, retitling the city clerk collector as city comptroller, moving city clerk duties to city manager duties, eliminating a public hearing for removal of city manager, providing for the city manager to appoint a lead of police fire services, providing for an acting city manager and acting city attorney, requiring city attorney to be in good standing with the Florida Bar, providing for clarification of employee compensation, providing for charter review every 10 years, complying with state and federal anti-discrimination laws, eliminating sections superseded by state and federal law, allowing for consistent language throughout, eliminating redundant language, consolidating sections, eliminating obsolete language, articles, sections, and editor's notes, amending other general provisions, providing for renumbering of articles and sections, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date, calling a referendum election for the electorate to consider approving the amended and restated charter, providing that the amended and restated charter shall not become effective unless approved by the electorate, and providing for an effective date.
That's pretty good.
So I was just going to ask, I don't know if there's any limitations of what we can do in education, but I did get somebody ask me a really good question. That they thought that moving the clerk responsibilities was taking away the fiduciary control of the comptroller position, and then I had to take some time to explain the financial functions are now within a separate reports to the commission, comptroller position, the city clerk, which is mostly agendas and those kind of things moved over in this proposal. So what are our limitations, if any, and what we can do to educate?
I think we could get with the supervisor of elections, but she had said that sometimes booklets would be published that have the entire charter. They would be available when they vote, but you're talking about education prior to voting. And what I would suggest is to let us, now that it's been adopted, let us come back with ideas as far as how the public can be educated on what this is, if that's okay with everyone.
Well, we already know we can do frequently asked questions, like we did the referendum roughly a year and a half ago. I can inform, it'll be Ms. Kennedy and I have already talked about making it some of our videos, stating factually what we plan to do. So FAQs on the website that everyone can share, and then we'll do educational videos from a staff perspective as well.
An entire landing page for this.
Everything, yes, sir.
And remember, what's going to suck up all the air is the property tax thing. So we have to make sure that we're in different areas all over the place bringing the information, because they got more money than we do to put all that information out there.
Understood.
Yeah.
All right, item 6C is ordinance number 3309. It is the final reading and public hearing to amend the legal boundaries of the Sweet Bay Community Development Districts. Mayor and Commissioners, included in your agenda packet is the same information you received at the first reading and public hearing of ordinance number 3309 that provides for minor modifications to the boundaries of the Sweet Bay CDD. Attached is a drawing in this letter from Mr. Zimmerman that circles the areas that are to be modified that are also on your screen. After conducting the public hearing, the City Commission may consider adopting the ordinance requested by the Sweet Bay Community Development District, and that is the recommendation of staff. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, this is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 6C, please come forward. Anyone want to discuss 6C? Seeing none, I am closing public comments, and I'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Commission has adopted ordinance 3309, an ordinance of the City of Panama City, Florida, amending ordinance 3155 and ordinance 3236, amending the boundaries and legal descriptions of the Sweet Bay Residential Community Development Districts 1 through 6 and the Sweet Bay Commercial Community Development Districts 1 and 2, reestablishing Sweet Bay Residential Community Redevelopment District 7, amending the geographic boundaries of the Sweet Bay Community Development District's Tax Increment Financing District, replacing Exhibit A to each such ordinance with amended legal descriptions attached hereto as Exhibits A1 through AC1, providing for severability, providing for codification, and providing for an effective date.
All right, item number 6D is consideration to have the second and final reading of ordinance 3310 and approval of resolution 2026-0728.4, revising the special event handbook, including the special event fee schedule. As background information, on April 28th of this year, the Commission approved Resolution 2026-0428.6, adopting the new special events handbook, which established updated procedures for administrating special events, including application requirements, event classifications, operational standards, departmental review procedures, and special event fee schedule. After several months of using the new handbook, staff identified and received feedback on a few necessary revisions to make the permitting process more efficient and to provide clearer guidance for event organizers. The revisions clarify permitting during designated holidays, opening up more flexibility, establishing holiday service rates when city resources are needed, an update on food truck fire inspection requirements by accepting current inspections from other jurisdictions while allowing the city to inspect vendors when necessary and on site. Ordinance number 3310 revises section 17-10 of the municipal code to require payment of applicable fees at least 30 days prior to the event and removes the restriction in section 17-13 prohibiting special events on certain holidays. For the Commission's consideration, attached is Ordinance 3310 and Resolution number 2026-0728.4, adopting the revised special events handbook included as Exhibit A. Primary revisions included are listed below. The revisions are intended to improve the administration of the special events program, provide clearer expectations for event organizers and vendors, and ensure that city resources are managed efficiently while supporting safe and successful community events. Staff recommendation through the Director of Parks, Culture, and Recreation is that the Commission approve the second and final reading of ordinance number 3310 and adopt resolution number 2026-0728.4. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, this is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 6D, the event permits, please come forward. Anyone here to speak about the event permits, please come forward.
We should not a lot of emails over this for nobody coming up.
Seeing no public comments, I'm going to close public comments. Let's just go into a discussion because we've had a lot. We got an email distributed from Commissioner Hughes to elected officials too, related to his thoughts on it. So do you want to kick us off in some discussion?
Yes, sir. Thank you. So I have some concerns that we've asked staff, I feel like given a pretty clear directive to go back and make some modifications. And what we got back, there's some major changes that we never talked about. And it took that long to read all the changes. And really what we're talking about is we want to make it easy for people to get a permit. And I believe that the current version is exactly the opposite. And so what I'd like to do is, we had some success with our charter review and our parks committee, is what if we gave it, we had an appointment, put that back, with 60 days we come back and let them take the document that's there, because I think the right information's there. It's the philosophy of, we're giving you a rule book that you've got to pass first before you get the opportunity to get a permit. The one that, there's two in there that I don't need to know who's in the band and what songs are going to play. And I don't need, but I don't know where that came from. I've got a concern that we had a lot of conversation about trying to make it cheaper with the police force. There's nothing to do with the police other than the cost. And we get back this box that's highlighted that says all fire and police must go through. And so I'm concerned with that. And if we take and put that in the hands of others and come back with recommendations, that seemed to work for us. It takes the politics out of it, if you will. But we had some really good citizen input.
Yeah, we did.
But my concern, what staff is recommending that we approve is not what we asked them to go do, and that's my concern.
Yeah, I kind of thought we were going to have our event committee, permit committee, and so I was like sending Jonathan my recommendations for the committee or whatever grouping you wanted to have, so citizens can have input. So I'm in favor of that, and that way the people that host events feel like they know every word and they have the ability to shape this document as well. And there is a balance of like knowing what's happening in public safety and all those things that we want to have, obviously safe events. So Yeah, I'm up for having a committee or a group that looks over this and recommends.
I feel like we write these trying to protect the city against problems. And that creates a lot of angst out there of trying to come in and work with us. There's going to be a problem. I don't know what it is, but we can't think of them all. So, but let's not put it in the program up front. You know? So that would be my thought. And this is not about staff did something wrong. This is about, there's a lot of people input. And what we found out is if we take us out of the deal, it just seems to gel a little bit more and have better discussion. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, I like it. Any discussion or anything?
My question is, and similar thoughts in some aspects, like we set off onto this to basically fix so you could be able to host events on Thanksgiving for a turkey trot. And if we don't do anything today, is that preventing that event from moving forward? That's my
Yes.
question.
Yes, sir, because we got to.
But we could vote on that separate.
No, the ordinance, it's an ordinance right now, preventing those holidays.
Could we vote on that separate, Nevin, and say we want to, on that particular case? Because if this isn't in place, they shouldn't be penalized for the ask that they made, in my opinion.
The question, excuse me, I'm confused. If this were tabled or continued for 2 more weeks, if that were the desire, I mean, what would be?
I think they're talking about setting up a
A committee
3 or
and give
4
them
month
60
committee
days.
to kick,
No,
yeah.
not 3 or 4 months.
No, 60 days.
Yeah,
It'll turn into 3 or 4 months.
no.
No, both of the other ones were fine.
No, they both extended,
But-
one by 6 months.
Okay, but this is, we're not changing the charter. This is, all the information.
That was the Parks and Rec one that went 6 months over.
Well, they had meetings at every ward, and this is like one meeting and they get feedback and they run with it, in my opinion, or 2 at
So
the most.
I think the question before us, we're posing to the attorney, is what do we need to do to address the ordinance that precludes the original request? I think there's, on the dais, the consensus to approve the turkey trot people to do their thing. And what do we need to do to take that action, is what we're asking.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'll ask that.
good.
Right.
The ordinance, there's 2 things in front of you. One is the ordinance and one is the resolution. And the ordinance has a few changes, and it deals in 3B, it deals with the fees, and those were discussed at the last meeting. And so that deals with the fees. Section 1711, once again, talks about the rates. Then in section 1730, it strikes out the provision that says that no special event will be approved for Good Friday, Easter, etc. So the actual thing that has generated discussion is in the resolution. Isn't that right?
The handbook,
The
Yeah,
handbook itself.
In the
the resolution adopts the
the
handbook.
handbook.
So it is
So if we don't
possible.
change fees, we're fine to
Yeah,
just
you
change
could
the
adopt the
resolution.
ordinance and then come back and adopt the resolution that changes the handbook. And I think all the discussion has been on the handbook, which is the resolution. So if that's the issue, then I think it'd be appropriate to adopt the ordinance, and then you could hold off on the resolution and the handbook until you're ready.
And I'll motion we adopt the handbook.
The handbook?
No,
I mean-
I'm sorry, the ordinance. I'm looking at the ordinance. I motion that we adopt the ordinance, because, I mean, this is one of my constituents that was wanting to do the turkey trot. Right? Like it's,
So
yeah.
I'll second that so I can ask this question.
Yeah, discuss it.
So let's say that we did create a committee. If we adopt this ordinance, all those fees are in place. Can that change in the ordinance in that committee?
So what I'm seeing is the ordinance says the rate of these services shall be prescribed in the special events handbook.
Uh-huh.
The one that's previously
So
been adopted?
the one that's previously adopted and then not the one that's before us today. So,
They're looking at having this on Thanksgiving, so we've got a little bit of time. Yeah, a little bit of time.
Now, we can adopt the ordinance and then set the committee up for 30 days and have them give some input and then adopt the handbook later.
Yeah,
But-
I think that's what we're kind of talking about now. I think that makes sense.
But Josh, you're saying that the handbook that it references is the existing one, not the one we're talking
That
about?
is correct.
Correct.
Okay.
Unless we adopt the handbook, and then it would be this new,
Right,
these
okay.
new rules are in place.
So the motion on the table is to adopt the ordinance, but not the handbook. The handbook would still remain, the resolution will remain the previous one, which is the same fees and the same handbook, and we could discuss the handbook later.
Is there anything in the current handbook that precludes the turkey trot,
No trouble.
other than the
No
holiday
trouble.
fees?
Keith's shaking his head no.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
And
there we go.
so it also, anyone who comes in, let's say it applies for the turkey trot, they could be given notice that the fees may change depending on the, the new handbook when it's
Because they'd be
adopted.
paying less.
And the current applicant is aware of that.
Yes, sir.
To the commission and mayor, that was going to be my response as well, that the fees could change, but other than that, there would be nothing that would preclude it from moving forward.
Okay. We have a motion and a second on the table to adopt the ordinance, but not the resolution. Any other discussion?
When you say the fees can change, because the fees in the existing handbook are more expensive than the one that in this one.
The fees in the existing handbook are,
All right, since you're back, name and title for the public.
I'm sorry, Keith Myro, Director of Parks, Culture, Recreation. The fees in the existing handbook are the $58 range. The fees in the proposed handbook that you have before you are $75. The fees in the handbook that was proposed 2 weeks ago was the $112 range
For holiday.
per holiday.
Right,
I don't
but
think
what
that's
we're,
gonna, I don't think that's gonna harm the turkey trot one way or the other.
That's right. That's
I
right.
mean,
Okay.
they're looking at maybe 1 to 2 officers. It's not like they're having, it's not like a large parade where they're gonna have, 40 officers.
Will any turkeys be harmed in this trot?
Only at dinner that evening.
I just want to make sure.
Any other discussion about the motion that's on the table?
Is the setting up a committee part of the motion as well?
No.
not yet,
Okay,
no.
all right.
Okay, other discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes,
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Commission has adopted ordinance 3310, an ordinance amending Chapter 7, Protection of Public and Private Rights, providing that all payments for fees must be made at least 30 days prior to the special event, providing that special events are not prohibited on holidays at discretion of the city, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, providing for the severability of any part of this ordinance declared invalid, and providing an immediately effective date.
Do we, before we go to 60, if we wanted to have citizen input from some sort of grouping, do we need to pass a motion for that too?
I think that'd be appropriate, Mr. Mayor. Yes,
Do
sir.
we want to do that?
But before you do that, I would ask that you ask the one who's going to be dealing with all of this. In
Yes.
the middle of this budget season, what would that impact look like? Do you have the capability, bandwidth to do this?
Yes, sir.
Keith Myro, Director of Parks, Culture, Recreation.
Still.
Still. No, I mean, I believe that we could take that on. It's, there's been robust conversation already. I think we've presented our budget, so I think we're in a space there, we would be able to take this on and handle it pretty quickly, hopefully within 60, 90 days.
my thought would be people on the committee that actually are outside of City Hall, that do the event planners, having some staff input as well. But let's let the public tell us what works best, and can we find a common ground? They've told us what works. What's the public? And that way we make an appointment, and they're off and running, and they meet and come back, and it takes all of us out of the deal.
I agree. I like taking this out of the deal.
Yeah, is that good?
Do I hear a motion?
My concern is just more that we're going into August, and August and September tends to be a very busy time
Yeah.
for staff. And so that's why I just wanted to hear it from the director as to whether or not he can
Yeah.
support it. Sounds
Okay.
like he
Yes,
can
sir.
support it.
I think my expectation is like 2 meetings that are an hour long each kind of thing, like not, 12 meetings. that are
Yeah, just a
6 hours.
feedback.
Yeah.
I mean, they're going to make a feedback
I
component.
think there's a lot of misinformation based on the emails that I received, because I couldn't find anywhere in the handbook as presented that would do what people were emailing me and saying that it would do.
Sure.
And so I think that that would be a great opportunity to kind of understand better how we're miscommunicating there. So,
Perfect.
Yes, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners, do you envision this as like a formal advisory board that like we did with the Parks and Rec and the the Charter Review, or more something that we grab a bunch of these event promoters, sit them around the table, it's informal, you're not advertising board appointments that take a while, and you guys have to nominate folks?
Yeah, let's do something
If we
simple.
shared like the members that we, like staff was thinking, that you guys are thinking, that would be part of this?
Why don't we call it? I mean, we're the ones that are asking for it.
Yeah, well, I'm just,
What I would, this is just me, what I would prefer, and I can tell you guys exactly where I would go for the person that I would put on the thing is, maybe in 2 weeks, we bring back a name each. We put them on a board to have 2 meetings, review what we've already been seeing, make their comments, and then send those comments back to us prior to adopting anything in the event book. I would pick somebody from the crew of St. Andrews. I'm just going to tell you guys, I picked somebody from Mardi Gras because they'll be hugely affected by anything that we would change. So I'm sure you guys have got ideas of people that would be that. They're doing turkey trots all over the crate.
I mean, I already have my nomination ready. We can go to nominations right now, okay.
That's a mean turkey trot.
We can wait 2 weeks. So do we have a
I
motion?
like that idea.
You want to put a motion together?
I'll motion for everyone to bring back names on the next meeting agenda for us to appoint to an advisory review of the special events handbook.
I'll second that.
Any discussions? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
I would like to clarify that doesn't prevent anyone else from being a part of it. I think it's just good to have.
I agree.
So going forward, we just give our names to the.
Well, I think we're going to formally establish the committee in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I want to call and ask.
Yeah,
Would you be willing to serve?
I'll just say, I think doing it in a more formal fashion is prudent and just lays out clear expectations and how to move forward and the timeline and all that. I think it's wise.
What would be convenient is if staff could get the names, in a week or so, and would do a simple resolution like the charter review and say, this is what they'll do. They'll meet 2 times.
And be prepared to.
Time
appoint at the next
limited,
meeting.
and then you'll
Okay.
see everyone else's names. Does that sound like appropriate?
Will you include a
Pat?
scope on that too?
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah, it'll include the scope.
Perfect. Thank you.
You can get them to us by Monday, August 3rd. We can put it on the agenda
Okay.
for the next meeting.
Awesome. All right, moving into item 6E. Item 6E is consideration of approval of Resolution 2026-0728.1, the 2026 Annual Nuisance Assessment. Mayor and Commissioners, staff recommends the City Commission hold a public hearing and then adopt the annual nuisance assessment resolution. The nuisance assessments were established in 2020 with the intent for them to continue annually to collect the cost of abatement that the city spends annually for the benefits of properties with code enforcement violations. This year, the expected assessments total $98,783.87. The amount of annual assessment since the program was started is listed here in your packet. Let's see here. After the nuisance assessment resolution is adopted, the approved assessment roll will then be sent to the property appraiser and the tax collector for collection using the uniform collection method. The tax collector will include the assessment amount on the tax bill for those parcels that are assessed. After allowing for comments from the public and the closing of the public hearing, it is recommended the commission adopt the annual nuisance assessment resolution. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, this is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 7A, please come forward. Yes, sir. Oh, excuse me, 6E. I moved on to 7. 6E, excuse me.
Hello, Derek Thomas, 1100 West 10th Street. What you're saying and what's on the website is 44 properties totaling $98,000. I think if that's all it was, nobody would really be upset about that. The problem is the millions and millions of dollars that are involved in the day fines that are added to the abatement. And if the abatement in some cases less than $10,000 and there's hundreds of thousands of dollars in day fines, that is is something that it's not sustainable. If the person owes 2 or 3 times what the property's worth, they're just not going to pay it. And then whoever buys it on a tax purchase, because they're not paying taxes anymore, would be stuck with that landmine of hundreds of thousands of dollars in fines that they have to pay. I think that there should be a way. You should first tell the public how much money is involved in day fines in addition to the actual abatement, and how much is this people being charged day fines who have abated the nuisance themselves, but they didn't do it fast enough, or there was some problem, they were sick, or whatever the deal is, or the person died. And so if the abatement is really a matter of public safety, sitting around for years and not abating it isn't appropriate. And if it's not a matter of public safety and you're going to financially ruin people for not abating it fast enough, there needs to be a limit, a cap put on the day fines, say whatever the abatement is, or double the cost of the total abatement. There has to be some sort of cap put on it that you can't just say, for this less than $10,000 worth of abatement, now you've got hundreds of thousands of dollars to pay. That just doesn't seem to make sense or be reasonable, and I think you should consider putting some kind of limit on that. Or if you're going to be able to relieve the fines, if somebody comes to you and says, hey, I want to develop this, can you relieve the fines? And you're going to do that for them, why not do that for any family member that comes up and says, hey, I didn't know that my family's uncle died and now I inherited this property, but now you say I owe hundreds of thousands of dollars. There has to be a way for them to have that fine relieved, the day fine specifically. And what you're talking about here only lists the actual abatements, and I think that you should consider that. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else want to speak about item 6E? Seeing none, I'm closing public comments.
For clarity, the fines are attached as a lien, so you're going to know about it when you buy the house. The money is a direct cost out of the city to improve that site. It might be unfit, unsafe structure. It might be there's a rule that's being broken, and that person has not paid it. It's a yay boo thing for me because.
Can we just circulate a memo? Can you circulate a memo of just how that process works?
Yeah.
And like, if we can't get a hold of the owner, what do we do, and all those kind of things? It would help educate me as well. Now we don't have a big back and forth.
A motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Because I'm not talking about actual abatement. I'm saying that if the house has been knocked down by the owner, and now the city says the owner owes 3 or 4 times what the property is actually worth, there's no way that they could ever pay that off.
But they knew that. No, that's not new news.
Well, okay, so we're going to get those answers for you because I want to know them too. So I appreciate the questions. Yes, sir. Okay, we have a motion and a second on the table to accept. Do you have any discussion?
Would you remind me what the motion is?
To accept the nuisance abatement resolution.
Oh.
Approve the resolution.
I thought it was something different. Okay.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
The commission has adopted Resolution 2020-60728.1, a resolution of the City of Panama City, Florida, providing for nuisance abatement assessments within the city, providing authority, definitions, and findings, establishing the method of assessing the nuisance abatement-related service costs against real estate specially benefited by the service, approving the nuisance abatement assessment roll, providing for the imposition of nuisance abatement assessments, providing for the collection of the assessments pursuant to the Uniform Assessment Collection Act, providing severability, and providing an immediately effective date.
All right, moving
Wait,
into
before we move on,
quasi-judicial hearings.
Jonathan, before we move on, can you get on the website that similar memo of how we handle code enforcement? We also had a question this week about fines and who can waive fines, and maybe a little FAQ on just code enforcement processes that would help us and the public know standard practices.
All right, moving into quasi-judicial hearing. During quasi-judicial proceedings, the commission will hear evidence and render a decision regarding the matter presented based upon the evidence received. The parties, I don't know if that's the right one.
No?
Yeah, just hang tight till I get to the item. Thanks. All right, during quasi-judicial proceedings, the commission will hear evidence and render a decision regarding the matter presented based upon the evidence received. The parties before the commission and the public are entitled to present evidence, documents, witnesses, etc., and cross-examine witnesses. All parties and witnesses will be under oath and the entire proceedings recorded. The commission is not bound by the strict rules of evidence and may consider any evidence which it deems relevant and trustworthy. Any member of the commission may ask questions of the parties or witnesses. Since quasi-judicial proceedings are legal in nature, everyone is expected to adhere to proper courtroom decorum and etiquette. Any comments or objections should be directed to the mayor. The burden of proof in a quasi-judicial proceeding rests with the applicant. Therefore, the applicant has the opportunity to address the commission last, after all public participation, and before the commission deliberates. Mr. Zimmerman?
For all items 7A and 7B, I will swear in staff who will remain under oath during the entire proceedings. I'll swear in any additional parties that intend to testify during the public hearing after the city manager introduces them. So please stand to be sworn. And that is staff and anybody else that you anticipate may want to speak. Raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. If anyone later decides that they would like to speak, that is perfectly fine, and at that time, I will swear you when you come forward. If there are any ex parte communications at the time that the commission votes that they've received outside of this public hearing, we would ask that it's communications that you're going to rely on, commissioners, for your vote, if you would just disclose the fact that they took place. And after the close of evidence and during the deliberation, members of the public will be prohibited from further commenting. Thank you.
Item 7A is the first of two public hearings on Ordinance 3306.1, an ordinance amending the future land use map of the city to reflect the land use designation of general commercial for a property located at 2015 West 23rd Court with parcel ID 13230-030-000. As background information, the applicant has requested a future land use change to general commercial and a rezoning to general commercial 2 or GC2. This item was previously reviewed by the Planning Board on June 8th of 2026. The Planning Board recommended denial unanimously in a 4-0 vote. Staff concurred with that recommendation. At their July 14th, 2026 meeting, the City Commission voted 4-1 to schedule a first public hearing for July 28th and a second final public hearing for August 11th to consider instead rezoning the subject property to General Commercial 1 or GC1. Following documents are enclosed in your packet. Ordinance number 3306.1, the staff analysis report, recommendation, and public comments, the adopted map series, including aerial, future land use, and zoning maps. Staff recommendation through the Director of Development Services is that the City Commission conduct the first public hearing for Ordinance 3306.1. Mr. Mayor?
This is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 7A, please come forward. Anyone here to speak about item 7A? Seeing none, I am closing public comments. Mr. Zimmerman.
First reading of Ordinance 3306.1, an ordinance amending the comprehensive plan future land use map of the city to reflect a land use designation of general commercial for a parcel of land located at 2015 West 23rd Court, Panama City, providing for repeal or severability and effective date.
Item 7B is the first of two public hearings on Ordinance 3306.2, an ordinance amending the zoning map of the city to reflect a zoning designation of General Commercial 1 or GC1 for a property located at 2015 West 23rd Court with parcel ID 13230-030-000. As background information, the applicant has requested a future land use change to General Commercial and a rezoning to General Commercial 2 or GC2. This item was previously reviewed by the Planning Board on June 8th of 2026. The Planning Board recommended denial unanimously in a 4-0 vote. Staff concurred with that recommendation. At their July 14th, 2026 meeting, the City Commission voted 4-1 to schedule a first public hearing for today, July 28th, and a second final public hearing for August 11th to consider rezoning the subject property instead to General Commercial 1 or GC1. The following documents are enclosed. Ordinance 3306.2. Staff recommendation through the Director of Development Services is that the Commission conduct the first public hearing on Ordinance 3306.2. Mr. Mayor?
This is a public hearing. If you wish to speak about item 7B, please come forward. Anyone on 7B? Seeing none, I am closing public comments. Mr. Zimmerman.
First reading, ordinance 3306.2, an ordinance zoning a parcel of land located at 2015 West 23rd Court, Panama City, Florida, having approximately .305 acres, GC1, providing for severability and providing for an effective date.
Yes, we are in public participation. If you wish to speak about any of the remaining agenda items, now would be the time that you would come forward. Let us know what agenda item that you're speaking on, and you have 3 minutes to talk about your agenda item. Does anyone want to speak this afternoon, or this evening, excuse me? Yes, ma'am, come on down.
Okay. Michelle Bryant, 490 East 9th Street. I'm speaking on item 12E, or G, 12EG. So last commission meeting, it was brought up about some properties that you guys were looking at putting into the Spark program. And during the conversation, I brought up that, hey, the American Legion had put in an RFP. It went through the, unsolicited bid, and then it went through the RFP process. No one else submitted. And so it was kind of put on hold, and as I explained to Jonathan last night, was we were waiting to see the Spark program start. So when we saw that our property wasn't on the list at the last city commission meeting, that's why we were a little bit concerned. For the sake of the entire board here, I just want to provide some history here. The lot that we're looking at was previously owned by Mr. Joe Lee. He owned Lee's Motel. He was a veteran that was able to start that business due to his veteran service and veteran status. Let's fast forward to today. The American Legion, Post 424, Alvin A. Russ, is actually a family member of Mr. Lee. So we thought that purchasing this property will not only benefit the city of Panama City, but allow it to capture the historical preservation of this property. The American Legion is a veteran service organization that serves veterans, as well as their family and the community within it resides. Backstory: an RFP was submitted back in August. No one else submitted. Because it is a CRA-owned property, it had to go through that process. Again, we were awaiting the start of the Spark program. So as it looks as the Spark program is in its infancy, we would like to be also included in that Spark program initiative start, to where we look at that matrix, add up those comps, and allow for that full 90%, because the American Legion meets all of those qualifications. So I wanted to add that clarity when we look at that particular line item today. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on the remaining agenda items today? Yes, ma'am, come on down.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I have some concerns.
Yes, ma'am.
Specific, Brenda Lewis Williams, 2748 Oakhammock Drive. Specifically, on 10A, 12E, F, G, and H. I would suggest that these items be tabled because Commissioner Hughes, yes, you did, a while ago stated that he was going to come up with a plan for unsolicited bids. We have not seen that plan, so I would suggest, strongly suggest, that these be removed or put out for an RFP. No one's seen it. 11A, where is the $73 million coming from, and how will this impact an already strained budget? The Spark program reminds me of an old SBA program. I don't know whether you borrowed it from SBA or not, but it sure seems like you did. It's program 504. Let me give you. It's 504. Okay, Brenda Shell.
504 is a loan program through SBA.
Excuse me?
504 is a loan program through SBA.
I know what it is. I said it reminds me of the 504. I know exactly what it is. And, but it still reminds me of that. So there needs to be some clarity in what you're offering people. And The unsolicited proposals, as Commissioner Hughes has not clarified what's going to happen with that as opposed to RFPs, that the unsolicited proposals give disproportionate advantage to people as well as disenfranchising people, and it also gives opportunity for cronyism.
Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on today's agenda items? Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Patty, Sunday, 11:15 Fairland. Would it be possible on the balance of the long-term debt, it's exciting that there's a 73 million, or is that right? Yeah, payment that's going to happen. But on the balance, I think the taxpayers would be pleased to know the expenses of what that balance, which will be long-term debt, what it was spent on, line by line by line, and then what the anticipated payment each year is going to be on today's rates, right? Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. Anyone else want to speak? Yes, sir. The shirt says, "It's a beautiful day, don't ruin it."
May God bless you. Walter P. Henry, 614 Maple Avenue. If I can talk on your speed lights for the school zones here that you will set up. It don't make any sense to me. They might not be on every 24 hours. It's kind of hard to believe that you're shutting them off, then you're cutting them back on early in the morning. Now, they don't have to be what I said. I think those things are still operating. Y'all telling folks that they could, while school is closed, cars can run through it as long as they don't go over 31 miles an hour. I heard that. Might have not been from you. I heard that's what happens. But want to know where the school zones end. It says school zone end. I think it should be a sign there saying what that speed limit gonna be. When my car go through Jenks School, and the speed limit hits 20 miles an hour. Don't make no difference. School in or school out. My car will not change until it hit another speed sign, says 35 miles an hour. And everybody believe that 35 miles an hour coming there through Jenks, if the school is not open, they can run 35 miles an hour. Now, y'all got signs around here saying school zone in, don't have no speed signs, what the speed limit is. How can we know that? These things need to be, y'all need to have some signs. If those signs is not too far, it's far apart, my car will stay on for a long time until it meets one of those speed signs and tell me what the speed limit. Other than that, mine to jump off and tell me there's no speed limit. My car tells me I can run fast as I want to run, but I know I can't. Somebody else probably give me a ticket, they catch me. So we need to declare this thing, that these things will be on 24 hours. They'll be running with school. It's in, children's inside the buildings, in the fences, and the signs. These lights, cameras are still running, hitting folks back. Because I figured something got to be wrong anyway. So 3 months, gave out tickets, just saying, y'all just getting these tickets, letting folks know y'all running, you done ran the speed limit, but we're not going to charge you for it.
Yes, sir.
We need something better than that.
Yes, sir. Anyone else want to speak on the remaining agenda items today? Yes, sir.
Hello, how y'all doing? My name is Hank Gaynor. Live at 1265 Capri Drive. And I had a question on 12F, G, and H. And I believe actually it's just what I would like everyone to consider is to just a little bit more transparency with that. I don't know what you're about to go into with that, but some of these properties, they definitely have something. They're in areas where people have a consideration to what's going on there. So I just would like you guys to be a little bit transparent with how this is happening. That's it.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Anyone else want to speak on today's agenda items? Yes, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor and Commissioners. I just kind of wanted to piggyback on what Mr. Gaynor said. I was, in terms of the property issue, I was just wondering, is it possible that we could hold some community meetings so people could really be informed about what you're doing? Because I'm not really sure I understand the fullness of it, and I'm not sure that the community is aware of what you're doing. So I would really like to recommend that we consider having some community forums so that the community could be aware of what you all are doing. And people could raise their questions and get more clarification, as Mr. Gaynor just made mention of.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
That's my request.
Yes, sir. Anyone else want to speak to that? Seeing none, I'm closing public comments. Moving on to items 9A. Do I have
All right, yep. So pull off, so item 9A is consideration of acceptance and support of the Panama City Fire Department's Community Risk Assessment and Standards of Cover Department. As background information, the PCFD is finalizing its process to achieve accreditation through the Centers of Public Safety Excellence, or CPSE, and the Commission on Fire Accreditation International, CFAI. Accredited agencies are often described as being community-oriented, data-driven, and outcome-focused. They exemplify organizations that are strategic-minded and well-organized, are properly equipped, staffed, and trained. Agency accreditation is an international recognition of achievement. It shows the community that the PCFD continually self-assesses, looks for opportunities for improvement and efficiency, and is transparent and accountable through the application of a true third-party verification and validation process. PCFD is submitting today its Community Risk Assessment Standards of Cover document as the final step to proceed to the accredited status. The CRA provides a comprehensive, data-driven analysis of the risks present within the City of Panama City, including fire, emergency medical services, special operations, and community-specific hazards. Building upon this assessment, the SOC then establishes a measurable performance objectives, deployment strategies, and service level benchmarks designed to ensure the effective, efficient, and equitable delivery of fire and emergency services to our residents, our businesses, and our visitors. PCFD appreciates the continued support of the Mayor and City Commissioners as we work to uphold internationally recognized best practices and enhance the level of service provided to the citizens of Panama City. We respectfully request your acknowledgement of this document as part of the department's accreditation process and for your continued support. Staff recommendation through the Fire Chief is that the Commission accept the 2025 Community Risk Assessment Standards of Cover document. Mr. Mayor?
I'll motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
Yes. Go ahead.
You.
No, yours.
You're always, I insist.
I just wanted to point out that Fire put this on consent, and I didn't think that it needed to stay on consent, which when we wound up, usually we don't have 2 items on consent. We usually have a bunch of items on consent. And so I really wanted to pull this one off and just kind of just showcase it to everybody who's in the room and also those who are watching online. And just point out some highlights here that fire has been protecting Panama City since 1912. That's a, I don't know that anybody remembers 1912, right?
I read about it.
Never. I'm pretty sure we didn't have a fire truck.
Yeah. So, and then on top of that, the specialized readiness that is shown in this document is unmatched by anybody around us. I'm not even talking about like countywide. I'm talking about several counties out. It is unmatched. And so we truly have something special. We have a gem here in Panama City with our fire department. Just kind of wanted to highlight that their local knowledge of our streets and waterways really help mitigate the risks, and keep the response times very, very strong and effective. So I just want to say thank you, fire department. I know that it wasn't your intent at all for bringing this document forward, but I started reading through that document and I was like, man, that's a lot of stuff. That is a lot. So that's all I really wanted to say about it. So thank you.
I want to echo those comments coming from Commissioner Granger. Our fire department really goes the extra mile to protect us. They're often the very first ones when we call 911 who are on the scene. And you can do a good job, but our fire department strives to be excellent. And this document that they're bringing forward is part of that. And what they do helps us not only to be safe, but also helps us in our liability, our insurance as homeowners. And so, Chief, thank you. And I encourage my colleagues, if you've not hung out at the fire department, do so. And if you're lucky enough to go on a call with them, they'll take you.
So my comments, and I relayed these to Chief, our team sets an incredibly high bar for themselves. They are exemplary in their performance, the vast majority being in EMS type situations. What I did encourage the chief to do as we move forward in these reports that ultimately will come to us is that in our benchmarking, we not just see their benchmarking, which is going to be a very high bar to achieve because of what they put on themselves, but also we see what the national average is on those responses too, so that we can kind of see, what level of service our citizens are getting and comparatively to the national average of services too. So.
Yeah. So, thank you for what y'all do. And the reason the bar is set high is that man sitting back there and make sure it happens, and it rises. It makes sure that the guys he hires, they're trained well, they're working hard. People were in a little fender bender last night, and this was not in the city, it was in the county. The fire department showed up first. There were 6 firemen / paramedics and 1 cop. And so they get there quick, and they triage what needs to happen. And so thank you for your work.
It's very cool.
I mean, yes.
Yeah, very cool document. A lot of data.
It was long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very cool stuff. We have a motion and a second on the table. Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
We are, do we need to read anything on that?
No, don't believe so, sir.
You're up,
It's,
Mr. Hughes.
Commissioner reports.
Commissioner Hughes, you're up with 10A.
Thank you. If I may, I'd like to address what somebody said. Oh, Ms. Williams, Ms. Brenda Lewis Williams. With respect to unsolicited offers, there has been a document drafted about the process of taking one in and how to work through it. That was last year, I believe. We continued to work through trying to, different presentations, trying to drill down to how to get to what we thought might work. The document and so what that's done is bring us to today, and the document that I'm about to talk about, I'm going to offer up 12 lots, city lots, put them out there. I've got a plan for that. Everybody's going to have an opportunity to do that. But unsolicited offers, what we've done with the last one is we're putting it out there for an RFP or come on in and make an offer. That's a hard one to do because in an RFP, everybody gets a chance at the a bite at the apple. Okay? Doesn't mean you're going to do it, but you can bid on it. So this idea is it's going to go out and everybody has a chance. Okay? So if you don't do it, that's okay. But unsolicited seems to be the way that people want to do it because that's the way it's always been. And the way it's always been is not an answer for me. You know, we've got to have a process. And so you've heard me say up here, when I sell a house, 13 people go to work. And if those 13 people don't understand the process, if you're the buyer, you're never going to get there because nobody's working towards the same goal. I'm about to hopefully have some discussion about this. So at one of the meetings, I made a comment about that I presented how to dispose of lots 3 times. And the mayor rightfully so said, yeah, but we haven't had a plan yet. Wow, right here.
Yeah.
And what I'm gonna ask is, I asked Sheila to give me 12 lots. Now, I left one off, I'm sorry, folks. It's good to have, then I can type this and put it together. And so what I'd like to do is put it out, 12 lots, and have 3 different ways to buy it. We're giving you the options, but only builders can buy it, okay? Because you have to build on it. Okay? We're not buying and sitting. Yes, it's a goal to get on the tax roll, but it's the bigger goal is to put a family in a home. Okay? So the 3 ways that I have it is you can buy it direct, you can buy it market rate, pay us the money, we move on. You can go build what you want, but you got to start in a year. Second is we might discount the lot. If we discount it in $1, then we get to have some rules on it. Okay? And the one that I do is at closing, 20% of that lot value as we have it at the beginning comes back to the city for helping to put people in houses through the infill program or a SHIP program. And then the third is the infill program doing, as we have now, and that requires that buyer coming out of the SHIP program. So that's trying to still connect something to the SHIP program. In those 2 cases, and 50% of the lot value comes back in that to the city. Okay? Trying to keep some of the money, so I heard it's got to, not stabilize.
Self-sustain.
Self-sustain. And so that's part of my thinking. There's some requirements in here of the builder. You're going to get your own loan. You're going to build the house. You're going to start within a year. And that runs across all 3 opportunities. Buyer requirements. Got to get qualified. I've talked to lenders. They come in. We get the lenders involved. If you're going to go through SHIP, you're going to go and SHIP would go through the housing department. Now, if you're buying in a CRA, I've put a limit in here that, and getting a discount, or we put a lot in the deal, you can't go get a CRA permit, a demo permit, okay? Because that way you're double dipping into getting help twice. Overall, what I'm trying to do is test the market. Are more people going to buy straight out? Are they going to ask for help? Or are they going to go what we've been doing with going through SHIP and doing an infill program? 12 lots. Not too many. They're all in a concentrated area, and we can see how that works. What it does is it puts money back towards the city. It has a path on how you have to follow. You start with, you build, and you close. And it gives us insight. If everybody buys market rate, we know that's what we need to do is just put them out there and sell them. If we need a lot of people with help, we also have that option. It's the middle option right now that I'm unclear on, of needing a little bit of discount. And that might make the numbers work for them. That's my goal, is to make the numbers work for that builder that's going to come and work with the city. But I want the rules to be as little as possible, because there's enough of them on the contractors as they build and all the requirements that come out of building with the city. So, Mayor and Commissioners, I submit to you a plan, and we're going to talk about some other lots today. But these are 12 that are separate from what we're going to talk about tonight. For discussion, what do y'all think about it? And do you think that there's going to be some success in doing this?
First, this is awesome. This is a plan. I love it. Yeah. You know, cities can receive, just kind of touching on the unsolicited offers, cities can receive unsolicited offers. You could put an unsolicited offer to buy City Hall. You know, it doesn't mean we have to take it. It just means like, hey, you guys haven't asked for this, but someone is willing to do a thing, whatever that thing is. And, you know, and even in the past year, we've sold unsolicited property to unsolicited offers to the liquor store on 6th Street. And we've responded. Every city does that. They either respond to these one-off, or they respond to it with a program. And so I'm glad to see a program. You know, initially when I started looking at properties, well, the way I felt as an investor, a hometown local boy investing in his community, is I've often felt like a second-class citizen to the organization. Like I was like, hey, why isn't anyone helping me? And I've said it before, the magical needle to thread in revitalization is when a neighborhood does it for themselves, and not an outside person who doesn't know, and that doesn't live there. The best ownership is a person right around the corner who's already putting into the area, who loves the area, who's gonna be buried there. You're gonna bury me in Panama City, and I love this place. And so those are the best investors to have. And so that's the reason when I came up with the Spark idea, I didn't look at the 504. The 504 loan has nothing to do with acquiring properties. The 504 loan is a loan through the SBA to buy property, a loan program, and not to buy SBA property. But I was looking at, I basically took a spreadsheet and made up numbers of like, how do we incentivize people who are already qualified to do the work in their own neighborhood, who are already doing it? And it kind of fits into your option 2, you know, the discounted lot program. What I don't want to do, what makes me nervous is putting a bunch of lots on the property that are swooped up by outside people and I want to increase home ownership too. That magic thing is increasing home ownership, but you know, I don't want to see this neighborhood get diluted down by more outside development. We have an opportunity to help the helpers in the area, and so that was me just kind of making up a program. Initially I called it the CRA program, but it could be applicable to anything and it could change. But what I want to see is the people that are existing in the neighborhood who are qualified to do that. We also don't want to sell a piece of property at a discounted rate to someone who is unable. We set them up for failure when they've never done a thing before. And they're like, oh my gosh, I've never built anything. And this is way harder than I thought. Building something is hard. And so, you know, I want to help the people that are in the neighborhood build their neighborhood back. And not look to other people. And so I'm willing to sell some properties. We could talk about what the properties are, provide you present to those. But the whole idea was, and the reason why these other agenda items are on there is to help the people that are already, you know, doing stuff in the neighborhood. That was the idea. I, specifically talking about the program, I'm happy to insert any sort of discounted matrix into option 2. I think that's lovely. The pairings of property on this initial packages, I'm fine with these properties, but to me, if I was buying 2 lots, I wanted them to be similar. And that way I can almost use the same plan or kind of have, versus 2 completely different lots.
But it keeps you from buying all the cherries. You
sure.
buy one and then you buy a non-cherry. And that way everybody's treated fairly, is where I was coming from on that.
Yeah.
And so, but that's just an idea.
Yeah. These are all just ideas.
Right.
And we're all just making up the way that we want to set people up for success and not for failure. And so I think this is a good stab, but I'm ready to move forward and hear more conversation. So.
I'm ready to prove it as is, Robbie. And I think one of the things that I would like to say is we need to have an evaluation point. Let's say that's, you know, I don't know what's reasonable, 6 months from now, that we get a full report on what's happened with these 12 lots. I am a little concerned with just keeping all of the restrictions on funding through this turn, because that makes it more complex on the person that's actually trying to build and construct. But I think anything that is worth trying, I think that's going to be shown in this 6-month period. If we find a bunch of people that just want to pay you market rate and get us out of it, I think that's going to be a pretty clear indication that the government folding of so many layers and trying to make things affordable actually may do the opposite inside of that. But we don't know until we try. And so I fully support as it is, and I just ask that we have a 6-month evaluation and that we get a full report on what happened with each one of these properties.
Thank you.
So I've said from the beginning that fairness is pivotal, and we've heard from some of the speakers here today to say, how do we know how to move forward? How do we know what's there? what's being made available. And you guys talk a lot about selling lots. Creating neighborhoods is not the same as selling lots. We heard from Dr. Cohen out of Jacksonville with LISC, how they were able to do both, to invest in the neighborhood, to provide the services. And my concern is that we not just put lots out for sale, but that we look at how we get the whole neighborhood up. Because you could put new houses right next to houses that need repairs, that are air property that can't be prepared. And so if we're going to create neighborhoods, this is a piece of a whole. It's not the end all and be all. And so that's important to recognize. How do you see putting this forward, that we just put it out like this, and those who want to submit an RFP on a particular property, where do we go from here?
Good
This
question.
is an idea. What's the process?
So with the Harmon and Six property, we put it out there with inviting people to make an offer with no qualification. On this, we put it out with, here are the 12 lots, here's the location, here's your legal description. Builders can purchase. The one, if you pick lot 1, you got to pick lot 6, and you get 2. That way we get 6 different people building. Okay, so we're trying to let that work. There may be more that want to bid, but then that's great. And we will take who's bidding on lot 1 and lot 6 and do the best one. Not necessarily low bid, just best deal. Okay.
What's the best is subjective. What's your criteria for best?
Price and terms. So I don't know what terms are right now. I'm going to create some terms, but they're going to tell me, if they need a discount, they're going to tell us what they need the discount. What is that doing? Okay.
I think these are all coming back to the commission before a purchase contract will be executed.
10-4.
And so we may all have different viewpoints on what valuation of that criteria is. And so some, like how you just said, may value a more community building aspect. Others may value the bottom line of what it transacts at and the actual contract amount. Others may be, you can do a faster timeline than somebody else. But I think leaving it to the board, yeah, we'll have a different viewpoint maybe in each thing, but we'll eventually have to come to a consensus.
What are the clear steps? We've got several folks out there who have the means and the interest.
Okay.
They look at this list, what do they do next?
So what did y'all do when you put Harmon and Six out there? Did you?
We did a notice.
A notice.
A notice of disposition.
All right. Yep. Notice of disposition. Here are the lots. They're out there for 30 days. Here's how you proceed. You put the contracts that they can use, vacant land, because that's what they are. They use that. Or you have to come and meet somebody writing the offer, I don't know. And builders, and you can pick 2 and show them what the matrix is. And and they have to qualify. Meaning the builder has to show that they can do, to Alan's point, that they can get the money, that they're licensed, and that's in the program.
And what's the criteria for it? When you say that's in the program, it's spelled out?
Yes, ma'am, it is. Builder.
And where does this go at City Hall? Is this business services? Is it CRA?
That's above my pay
The
grade.
notice of disposition went through procurement.
Logistics.
And
Okay.
logistics.
And then when they come in, who
They'll-
handles it at
You'll
City
submit
Hall?
your proposal through Bonfire, just like we do for RFPs or, this is the same process we've been using for our CRA disposition of property as well. So they would submit their proposal through Bonfire, and then we bring that to the commission.
So there won't be the step that usually happens where staff would look at it and then bring it forward? Is that
Bring us
what?
all.
Yeah, I would
sorry?
not. I would say we just get them and then we pick from that.
And to your question earlier about unsolicited, what this does is it doesn't require us to send it back out for other people to make that an opportunity to make a proposal. It's there for everybody.
And then that way we know there's no behind the scenes conversations.
Simple.
It is all out in the public
That's
and
right.
everyone sees it. And whatever offers are made, everyone's going to see all the offers that are made.
Right.
If
And
I
if
may,
this works, I got another 10 ready to go.
if I can just ask a question, given remarks that this board has made a number of times over the last several months. So you guys want us to bring back or responses to potentially 6 different packages, 10, 15, 20, and y'all want to deliberate those on the dais?
As soon as you said that, that's what I was thinking.
Look, I'm open to trying something. I think through this process.
Okay, no, I'm fine. I mean, I'm just pointing that
We may
out.
find a better way of doing it,
I'm
but
open to trying something, but I'm not convinced of experimenting with an LMI neighborhood. And our concern is we can say we want to create neighborhoods, but we're really just still focused on selling lots. And I think we need to find a median to doing that. That's a win-win, and not just selling lots.
I would like to say to say we're experimenting in LMI neighborhoods is not a fair statement. We are in a place where we've had land in these neighborhoods for a very period of long time that isn't creating a neighborhood for anyone. And so we have the opportunity to allow people that are local, that are people that can come and build housing where there'll be a family that moves into that house, and there'll be more of a neighborhood that's built through that. We're not talking about saying, hey, we're going to go experiment by putting a nuclear power plant or something like that. We're talking about residential lots that are building residential houses. That is not an experiment. That's what was there before.
Well, when I made the statement about an experiment, it's what if we get all of these different, and the opportunity is there. We've got 12 packages. If we get 30 proposals and they're all coming to the city commission, that is an experiment. We've not done that before. And that's what I'm referring to, not some willy-nilly nuclear power plant, but just this process so that people understand. And that's what our audience members have asked
I would say
for.
this is not an experiment. We've had the same experiment going with the infill program, where we've tried to match builders with lots and buyers, and we see how slow that process goes. If all of a sudden this unlocks 30 builders, well, then let's redo the entire program. But I don't think that's going to be the issue.
When you sell a lot, it's really easy to, if it's your personal money, your personal lot, it's really easy to pick who gets it. It's like who gets $1 more than the other person. And for me, I've said it many times, this neighborhood to me is not a maximize the dollar amount. It's neighborhood and getting, especially in the commercial corridor, it's getting things activated.
And by giving them the option, we're testing the market.
Yeah.
So I have a question, Janice. Remember I told y'all that my informal survey of Glenwood, there's more new construction happening in that block that I gave than anywhere else in any other Panama City neighborhood. That's the attraction for me in picking these, because you're piggybacking on something that's already successful. Okay, so Glenwood is selling more new construction homes than Kings Point, than Forest Park, than anywhere. And they're doing it. The builders that are there should probably also get some sort of favor, because they've been doing it on their own dime with no help from the city, and now we're going to offer that up.
And so I think what we're going to find, I think what I'm hearing is, and I have this, if 12 people all left the same lot and they have this, like, we're going to have the conversation of who do we help? Who do we get? Is it the highest dollar? Is it some of the experience? I've been very clear about mine is the neighborhood and people who've done it before. And so I think we're just going to, if we get multiple offers or multiple packets, we're going to have to just talk those through, just like we would in an RFP when somebody presents different products.
I hope that that's the problem that we have. Otherwise, we may end up with none 6 months from now, and then we all step back and say, what about this is not working?
Yeah.
But guys, I do think that we can agree on some criteria that we say that everybody understands what the criteria is. I think it's unfair if we put it out there and then we decide, sitting up here on the dais, what the criteria should be.
Okay, if it's, well, it says in here, if you go market rate, there's no criteria. You build what you want to. That's what these guys have been doing already. If you go get some help, you got it. There's some that's going to come back to us money-wise, okay, to the city. But are you asking criteria of what they can build?
No, how do we select?
Okay, I'll give you an example. If I'm buying your house, or if I'm listing your house and I got 2 offers, one's full price cash, close in 75 days.
But that's not what this is.
It's about your question. The other is $10,000 off and close in 15 days. Which one's a better deal?
Sure.
It depends on your motivation, but most people are going to pull the one that comes sooner, okay?
And I contend that when we're building neighborhoods, there's some other criteria in addition to the better deal.
Okay, but that deal is not about, that's about what's presented to us. So today, I can't set criteria on what somebody's going to, I'm trying to get us out of the way, is what I'm trying to do, is get the city out of the way and let the public tell us how they intend to use it. We do not have to take any offer.
Yeah, we don't. We're not forced to do it.
That's the other part about this is I think that giving them that option, that's what I've been hearing from people is city, stop putting all these rules and regs in there. Let us tell you. And we work together. That may work, it may not.
But when we're in this neighborhood that has unique challenges, for instance, MLK Corridor, and we've begun talking about those and what we can bring to bear to lessen those unique challenges and encourage development. I'd like that same spirit and thought to go into the neighborhoods as well. And so the city's gonna win when we sell these lots. When the neighborhood is redeveloped, the city is going to win. I don't want to win at the expense of the people who are currently living in the neighborhood. And so we got these new houses, and right next to them, we've got somebody with a tarp on, we've got somebody with air property that can't fix it. And that's part of the challenge that when people start looking at where they want to buy homes. When you talk to Ms. Ware, she'll tell you that sometimes people don't want to buy in certain neighborhoods because they're looking at what's all around them. So if we want to lift the neighborhood, let's look at a holistic, this is one piece of it.
So if you're advocating to fix all the titles and all the roofs before we have this conversation.
There's a
we're
lot
on a different
between
page.
10 and all, okay? I'm not
'Cause that'll be
going to
10
all.
years from now.
Okay.
So I have not advocated that we do 100%,
Well,
but we can look at
We're
lots.
already working on the heirs with the consultant. We have that working, right? We can do this in parallel with that initiative as well. We can't wait on fixing every pothole and fixing every
And you
roof
take my argument to the extreme of
No.
every and 100%, and that is not what I'm arguing.
I'm asking you to present a solution and not a hypothetical. And my solution, I like Robbie's solution, and I want to move forward with this solution right
I
now.
have another question right now. Go ahead.
Nevin,
Yes, sir.
is there anything about this that would be legally insufficient?
No.
Okay.
No.
All I wanted to ask.
I think,
was easy. Yeah,
I think what I see here is exactly, we've spent over a year discussing this topic. Robbie has brought us a plan. He has actually talked with staff in regards to this plan. He's been collaborative, and I think we should just try it. And if it fails, then we say it fails. But it has the potential to be successful, and I don't see how it's less successful than just leaving vacant land sitting. I think that any progress towards a single-family home, let's be very specific with what we're talking about, is progress for any neighborhood. And I don't see how that can come back as a negative.
And I'm not saying it's a negative. I'm not saying it's a negative. How does this work with Spark? Are we creating two different lanes?
I don't, well, this is a specific test of a path of how we might be able to work with this. Spark is designed, I think based on what I read, has some rules in it that are helping inside a CRA only, or no?
It could be any property.
Okay. And this may help Spark modify, or this may modify. The answer to your question is, I don't know if it helps or it hurts. But I have a question. There's 4 people, 5 people building right now in low to moderate Glenwood. All I'm doing is giving more options in this plan from a city perspective, rather than them having to buy a lot here, a lot there. They get to go pick them. They know where they are. You pick one, you get this one. We're not, and you can't go in and some dude from out of town goes and buys 12 lots.
That's what I want to avoid.
That's what I'm trying to avoid. And it'd be
I
nice if
agree
they were all
with
local. But I can't say if you live at the beach, you're not allowed to buy. You know, and what I've also learned is that there's a lot of builders, you gotta be set up for this model, okay? The margins are thinner, so you're gonna do them on a, I love to do it, or you're set up that way.
So if I'm a builder, when I put in for this, I'm not, by the way. But if I was, when I put in for this, can I put in for all of them?
No, sir.
Why not?
Only 2. Because I don't want you, the builder, to be able to come in and to Janice's point, you're not gonna change the landscape of what it looks like.
If I was a
how you
builder,
see it.
I would want you to tell me that. Not I'm putting in for these 2 and then y'all pick somebody else for these 2 different ones and now I've lost out on these other ones.
You're picking 1 and 6.
As a builder or as?
Okay, how about
You know
this?
what
You
I'm
can
saying?
pick 1 and 6, and you can pick 5
I like it. I'm just
6
trying
and
to work
12.
through it.
No, 5 and 10, but then, from there, you're only gonna be able to have 1 of those
But
deals.
there's nothing guaranteeing me I'm gonna get those.
You're
ones that I
exactly
pick.
right.
So I have to gamble.
You have to make an offer.
Make an offer. Meanwhile, somebody else could be making a different offer as well.
Or we can put it as an RFP, it's gonna be the same thing. Or you can make an unsolicited offer and we have to send it out for everybody to do it. This way it allows everybody at one time to have the same opportunity.
All I'm saying is I think we would probably get better response, and I'm just guessing here, but I'm thinking we'd probably get better response if we decided who got what based on what. And knowing that you can only get 2.
Like, I think, Brian, I could say, I could say 4 or 5 other things that I might want to try or maneuver inside of this or, you know, affect or things like that. But, you know, Robbie's agreed to 6-month time frame on evaluation. I mean, that's a normal listing contract of what somebody would experience. So I don't see the negative ramifications that come from trying this and us learning through this process, because this will be an education not only for us, the public, everyone. And I think that's a good thing. I think it is vacant land. A lot of it we've had for 30 years. So, I mean, like, it is not something that is like, and we're talking about single family homes. I mean, this is the least controversial thing that you could do. I think it's worthy of just, hey, you know what? You guys spent time working on it. Let's try it.
Mayor, would you open up for public to just weigh in on this?
Absolutely. Does anyone want to speak?
While she comes down, Mr. Mayor, I do want to clarify one thing. We, obviously, staff would take what we receive and present it in some type of organized manner with appropriate cover sheets and summaries. We wouldn't just give y'all 10, 20, 30 packages. So I just wanted to clarify that.
Well, thank you. for
Yes,
that.
ma'am.
Yes, Michelle Bryant, 490 East 9th Street. I just want to add, this could go very well in correlation with the Spark program. I say that because it gives a criteria for potential builders. Maybe need to be tweaked a little bit by adding some more builder language, but it allows this to stay in exactly what Commissioner Lucas is saying. And I think you're all saying the same thing, just in different ways, of preserving the neighborhood, which is what I thought was the initiative of this program, in addition to the infill program that was created a few years ago, which is to allow people in the community to build, builders, and I think we have about 2 of them in the room right now, who are already doing this. But partnering with the city will allow these properties to be back on the tax roll, and now you're giving incentives to local builders who in previous years, that wasn't the case. And the Spark program outlines that. Are you from the neighborhood? Did you grow up in this neighborhood you're wanting to build in? And all those other criteria, I don't know all of them. But I think this is a great idea, but incorporating some of the Spark language and the criteria when this comes to the board will be very important to especially a community like Glenwood. And looking at those lots, it looks like 9 out of 10 of them are in Glenwood. Thank you.
Can we pull up, there's an agenda item further down, that is the Spark PDF on agenda item 12E. It's the second attachment. Can we pull
Yeah,
that up?
12 Edward would be the Spark program. Please,
Pull it up,
Donald.
Put it on the monitor and scroll down to page 2 and 3.
Or that's Carla, sorry. Just give him a second to do that. So it's the Spark attachment. It's probably one, I know there's a lot of attachments with that particular item. Second attachment.
Well, they're getting that, I think someone else is.
Yeah, come on down, come on down. Yes, ma'am.
Also, staff, as with our rules and procedures, please use the timer for all public comment. Thank you.
Hi. Restore the neighborhood, not preserve, right? It's restore to its glory. I tend to be an advocate for the consumer, and the city is in ownership of the land, which is a tangible asset. So good job, Commissioner Robbie. But I think there is I'm sure of it, I don't think, I know, there is a humongous subset of consumers that are not creditworthy and don't know the pathway. So when we go through this process, it's very easy to create a renter profile where investors can create rentals and all of those things, and we're not delivering the dream of home ownership and generational wealth. And so on the other side of this somewhere, and it probably doesn't belong in government, is how to empower those consumers who do not have a 630 credit score. And those of you that know me know that I've worked in this space for years on the border. We did 2,000 homes of non-credit-worthy people, not through the HUD profile. So I can pull, actually I have it, the credit scores of legacy citizens of Glenwood, not by name, by little routes. And there are so many that won't be recognized as creditworthy in the ability to gain a mortgage in this economy, but they're already paying that amount in rent that would cover their mortgage. So that's the part that I would love to see explored, or I'm happy to do the research and give it to whoever wants it. But that will empower more people.
I have a question. If government isn't the partner, who is the partner who does this?
Who does what? I'm sorry.
What you're proposing. And I'll ask the question to suggest that
it can be
government
done.
should be the partner. I'm asking to know who is the
So
partner.
there are banks that are required to make certain substandard loans, you know that. There are investors who will carry the note and owner finance the customer for a while and accrue part of their monthly payment until it becomes enough for a down payment, and then you roll them out. There are multiple options. It can be private, it can be government. HUD does it in a way, but if that was already successful here, we've already taken the cream of the crop of the people that can qualify for HUD, and that's wonderful. We have to have that, but there is a quicker way to do it, to reward people that actually have the cash flow, but it's going to a landlord. It could flip right over to their mortgage. Thank you.
If you haven't owned a house in 3 years, you're considered a first-time home buyer. There are amazing programs for financing with 580 credit scores. I did my research to figure out that those that have the lower credit score can still get in. Everybody has to qualify whether you rent or you own. What the city has the ability to do on what we focused on was the affordability and owning the dirt, and we can put it in there. That hasn't seemed to catch traction. But guess what? They're building houses at market rate over there, and they're selling right now. To me, there are enough people to take care of buying 12 houses. That's it.
Okay.
And I'm not picking on an area. I'm trying to piggyback on an area that's already doing well in the building.
And that's my point about when I say we're focusing on selling lots at market rate.
No, we're not. They get to choose. That's what we've been focused on.
What about
Yeah.
what about taking that option off the table? No market sales. We go right to the. I mean, if you scroll down, Donald, can you scroll down to the this is me taking a stab at how to help the neighborhood build itself back. So Donald, you just scroll down to the little table.
I'll just leave market rate where market rate has no
Yeah,
restrictions.
I'm okay
Yeah.
giving the property if somebody's willing to do it affordably.
Right.
I have no issue with
I'd
that.
rather leave them all there because I want to see what the market says to us.
And
But
I understood
that's
that.
an example of a criteria that people need to know up front, so that we don't get one person
Well, that was
who
in his
says,
proposal. It said 100%
They're gonna make that offer
reduction
to us.
if they meet the affordability requirements. So I think that was already built into what Robbie has put together.
It is. If you're the builder, bring us an offer that says, I want you to give the dirt to me. That means that buyer's probably, it's going to come through SHIP because it's going to require that you follow that qualification. The reason that those are slow is because there's a lot of government bureaucracy you got to go through. That's one of the it takes that out. It moves it moves it from offer to close.
So my suggestion would be to adopt a pricing discount criteria that further helps the neighborhood specifically. If you just kind of scroll through, you'll see family ties to the neighborhood, veterans, these are all just taking a stab at how we further incentivize the neighborhood. Minority, veteran-owned, completed incremental development alliance workshops. So you're further helping the people who have been through these programs. It's just me taking a stab at how we sort of more granularly look at that discount versus selling them that much.
Here's a good idea. His has rules, more requirements than mine. Let's put them both out there the same way. Not that we're trying to compete.
Yeah.
How does the market react to? To me, we always come up with an idea and then we just load it up with all these requirements.
Yes,
and then it's too hard.
That's exactly to my point. The more that we keep complicating this, the more nothing happens. That's what we've been really good at, nothing happening. And I see attempts of something trying to happen, and I think it's okay to try something in hopes that something will happen.
Yeah, we might get a whole bunch of submissions and we go, ooh, we need to iterate on this
Yes.
again. Or we get none and we go, ooh, we got to iterate
I
on it
don't
again.
think that's a bad thing. Either way, I think the worst thing is nobody participates at all because we made it so complicated.
Yeah.
Can we go to the?
Yes,
Could
sir.
ask the builders what they think and put
Walter P.
together-
Henry, 614 Maple Avenue.
Yes, sir.
Your plan, what you're saying is fine. I do not believe in trying to force somebody else out of their property. If they're going to sell it, if they're willing to sell it, they can sell it. Sometimes you build something, you build it in a neighborhood. You got a lot in a neighborhood. You know what you already have. If you don't like it, you need to become a good neighbor. Help your neighbor. If you don't like how they don't cut their grass, often as you cut yours. You don't like that way, you ought to cut it. You ought to cut it yourself for them. Do something. I don't believe not forcing. I try to tell folks years ago, y'all would not fight the state. That Martin Luther King Boulevard, they done what they did, and they did it. Now you're looking at it, you got some property that you can't even hardly put anything on because you widen MLK. We're crying, but what are we? We're going to help the people. Everybody is not set in the way that you're set. Somebody cannot do what you can do. So if you're going to build something, you're going to help somebody, help them. But don't try to destroy them or hurt them. Now, you talk here all day long. Y'all ain't gonna never get to the point where you need to get to. You get your mind up what you're going to do, not to force folks out of their property.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am, come on down.
Brenda Lewis Williams, 2748 Oak Hammock Drive. I'm only going to reiterate what some other folks have said. And I know what the 504 SBA program is, so we won't go back there, okay? But aside from that, the local builders in this community should have first pop at this, period. The local builders, you have some setting here. And on most of the time, our local builders, particularly our African-American builders, get knocked out of the playfield. So you need to pay close attention to that. If I'm using the race card, I'm using the race card, but that's what happens.
But you got white and Cuban building in Glenwood right now.
I said the race card, that includes all of them, all ethnic groupings, okay? So, but particularly the African-American builders get knocked out. So as long as it's local builders, to Josh's point, it could work. And it would be profitable. You talk about pouring back into the community and rebuilding the community. What other way to do it? By using local builders. Many towns in this country were built using local builders. Eatonville is one of them. Tulsa in Oklahoma is another.
Glenwood.
Glenwood is another one.
Examples out there.
It had a whole bunch of different adjectives ascribed to it, but used the local builders. Because my mind tells me right now, and you can tell me I'm wrong, but I see cronyism written all over this. You can't tell, I said my mind right now tells me that. And until I see it done otherwise, you're not going to change my mind. So local builders, and whether they're African American, Hispanic, Asian, it doesn't matter, but local builders.
Everybody in this room will have an opportunity to buy some of these lots. That is not cronyism.
It's not what I said. I said builders. Let's not do this. Let's not do this. My point is builders. Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, Commissioner, just prior commission, local preference per city policy set by the commission is not allowed.
Explain what that means.
Well, you get scoring points if you're local.
But he just said it's not allowed.
Yeah, we took it out of our purchasing policy to comply with state and federal guidelines. So like for any CDBG money, you can't have local preference. It has to be strictly on the basis of the bid.
So what I would communicate is this goes back to my original point early on. If you want to have more control over how you can award things, remove the funding restrictions that are on the lots prior to doing this. Otherwise, you're going to fall underneath probably some type of housing regulation or federal procurement option or something like that. You're going to be picking probably the highest and best bid is probably what it's going to result in if you don't reimburse the housing program first. Just to point that out in the process.
So some of these lots, all of these lots are housing lots.
Yeah.
So that
That
does set
zero
up.
to very little on them.
Okay, but that sets a minimum of what we can require. So if housing bought it for $25,000, we have to pay that back out of the sale, correct?
No, ma'am. If we put a value on there of 25,000 and somebody goes in and does a discount, we get 20% of that back. Okay? If the money was actually spent out of housing, like say for example the 805 East Avenue that we're talking about, okay? That came through Florida Housing Corporation. That has to go back through housing to Florida Housing Corporation or be used in that. These lots.
I thought you said all of these were housing.
They all go to housing, but not, it doesn't have to be the price in the lot.
You're not doing a local preference with housing dollars. It's not going to happen.
So I would like to have Ms. Ware come up and tell us, because this is housing.
Right. And what this is doing is it's also, I've got another idea, but not talking about
Gentlemen,
today.
I just don't want unintended consequences
It's
that we
having
don't
a
see.
fund.
That's why.
of what we do.
Yeah, I think that's why I'm like 6 months. Try it, see what happens,
Yeah, we'll learn some
and
stuff.
if nothing moves or we find
And
there's
it
some kind of crazy,
Does it force us to do anything?
Yeah.
We can see what comes up. Yes, ma'am.
Sheila Ware, Housing and Community Services Director. All of the lots listed are housing properties. There are some housing funds in every one of these lots.
Little to zero.
Yes, there's some that may be a minimal amount of $5,000. There's a couple that may have been donated, but we will have to retrieve back the funds that have been put in it from housing. Now, the ones that are listed, for example, on Horizon, what we can do, there are different avenues. If we get market value for it, then we would get paid back automatically if we sell it for market value. But if we do a discount, a mortgage can go back to the client for a portion of the lots. There's a way that we can do it to make it work for the end user.
And let's
So we
say
would
that
have
the amount of money
options.
coming back equals to 20% on one of my examples. And that can be the money that we get. No, we don't get that money and then 20%. We can recoup our money that we have in it, And if it equals 20% or greater, under my example of what the city gets back at closing, that could be the 20%.
So you're saying the money would come at closing?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, the money will come back at the closing, once the home is developed, it is sold
That's right.
at the end. Now, of course, the builder would have to sign a mortgage and a note to the city for that property being conveyed to them. So if for some reason in 6 months he has not built a home, he would have to pay the funds back to the city. That's just securing the city's interest in the property. And we do that on infill now. Correct, Nevin?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
And one thing that I might suggest is with going through the properties, Housing and Community Service can work with logistics to evaluate the offers that come in so that we make sure that we're getting a home built for a client and it's the best offer, and then bring those offers to you all. So we can go through a process of evaluating them so that you're not getting 100 offers. If some of them, if they're not builders that are qualified, so that you're not looking through a list of people that may not even have a building license.
Well, I mean, that's going to say builders.
Right, but,
You're right.
but
You're right.
we get those all the time.
Let's see what comes in first to see how we move through second. You know,
Okay.
Perhaps what we do, gentlemen, is have the criteria of what a builder is.
A license?
License.
General
Yeah.
contractor.
Yeah.
I think that's already defined
and
as the
what goes out.
statute.
And that you have to meet all those criteria.
Because one important thing that's in here is you cannot transfer the property. You have that in the, that is in the guidelines. So, you know, Jack the builder can't put it in his name, then transfer it to someone else and let them do the actual, you know, transfer that property to someone else prior to the construction being completed.
And it has to be a primary resident.
Yes.
We're not selling to investors. That's how you build the neighborhood, is you put primary resident people in homes, not investors, and put renters in there. Because people take care of what they own.
And we looked
back
at,
in their step.
no, we looked at the lots that we had not been able to move for years. They should just, because they are difficult properties, so that's why a lot of them are on the list. Those are ones that we've had for the longest amount of time.
I like it.
I think we're,
Do we make a motion to accept?
I'll motion to approve the plan presented to us with the 6-month trial period.
So, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Do I have a second?
Well, I'll second.
And then we can discuss.
Ms. Janice has a question.
Yes, ma'am. No question?
I would like us to put it together and bring it back in 2 weeks for final at our next meeting, after we have had an opportunity to share with community as was requested this evening.
What are we putting together?
Okay, but this has been available for them. This was given.
Since Friday.
So is all the other stuff that we voted on. But my concern is, what is it that we need to put together? Is it the criteria that, I'm confused. And I want to help, I want to do that. I'm just trying to figure out what it is.
So we just put this out on the market like this, where does it go from here? What are the, and that's been my question all
Okay.
along, gentlemen.
This goes
What's the
out.
process?
This process, it goes out and notice,
Same thing we
post a
already
notice.
did.
And here's what we're offering, here are the rules, here's what we need to follow, and here's the contract you gotta use. Submit it by X. It's that simple,
Okay.
okay?
So the intended builders are not necessarily those who are already connected to our city processes. So is that the only method you see of getting this into the community, so everyone?
This isn't about just for the builders of Panama that are connected to the housing. This is for anybody that's a builder licensed in Florida, okay? But the idea would be nice that it's local. Do we want to set up that you get a preference? I don't want a scoring thing. Is there
Yes.
preference given to people that are doing it now?
Is the
Now.
concern about just getting the word out?
Yeah.
Because that's what.
It's about what are we agreeing? Are we agreeing to what is only in here, or because we've talked about several different things here that we could possibly do that are not necessarily already represented here.
I'm agreeing to what is right there.
And-
That
and
was what the
I
motion was.
intentionally did was leave out all of the rules that I just talked about on the special permit. I sent them something on the adoptive part. There's all these rules and it gets bogged down in, I gotta follow this, this, and this. All the rules of contract law are already in place. All I'm asking somebody to do, in a solicited offer, pick 2 lots, send us an offer. No different than what we're gonna talk about on all these unsolicited offers. They're doing the same thing, except we've chosen the lots for them, and so they can buy 2 only. And you gotta be a builder. From that, I can't tell somebody what to build a house on.
What's the magic number for 12? Could we do packages 1 through 3 instead of 1 through 6, so that we have an experiment that is more manageable?
You're gonna have 6 builders. If you knock it down to 3, you're gonna have 3 builders. So I'm trying to give the broadest scope of, let's give 3 different ways to buy. You can't get all the cherries. Okay? You get 1 equals 6. That way, everybody knows they can go drive around and look at them. And you know that you're buying this lot and this lot.
I think it's going to be hard to find 6 builders. I think.
I don't think it will.
And
There's
that's what I
5
love
in there
about
right now.
that's what I love about
Yeah.
what you put together. Let's try it. Let's
Yeah,
see
let's
what
try it.
happens.
So the packages have to be exactly as they're here. You want package 1, that's 205 East 7th Court and 920 Cypress.
Yes, ma'am. Now, if y'all want to reshuffle that, but changing the plan from 1 to 1 and 1, that's a bad idea, because everybody is being treated the same.
Yeah, I mean, I think if we have no one offers made, then we go, well, maybe the
Well,
package is.
Robbie's wrong. Robbie was wrong.
Yeah, and we break them up and we go a different approach, but we're
Yeah.
gonna see what we.
And that is very plausible.
But we'll probably get feedback from that action. I'm sure somebody's going to tell us, like, I didn't bid on that because you guys were doing this and that was crazy and that's why. You know, we get feedback. Failure is not always failure, as long as it's moving forward.
Yes, any other discussion on the?
Could I ask a question, Mayor?
Yes, sir.
Just trying to keep this, in the event that this does pass and it doesn't come back to the commission before it's published, it's my understanding that this would be like a request for proposal, not unlike what we did with the marina projects. So there will be a cover sheet that goes on top of this, and it will say something like, this is a request for proposal. Submit your proposals by 30 days or some amount of time. There'll be not a mandatory, but a voluntary bid, would call it a bid, but a meeting where they could come and ask questions, and that the commission reserves the right to accept none, to accept some, the best proposal. The best not being the highest, but best meets the needs of the community as set forth in the Exhibit A. And then Exhibit A would be the residential lot disposition program. So that doesn't really change the motion, but I believe that's what staff would put together on top of Exhibit A that just explains that it's the
Can I help
best.
write that?
Yes.
That'd be great. All I want is for the public to know, here's what we have, here's what we're offering. If you want to buy, here it is. That simple.
Yeah.
And Janice, I understand that you want the criteria, but it's the criteria that keeps people from participating. It's all these rules, and the builders know how to build. They know, all they want to do is get access to the lot, and then they're going to go to work. That's my only goal. I don't want to sell to investors. I don't want to sell to renters. All I want are nice homes that help the neighborhood, that have primary resident people, because that's what happens in a neighborhood is they own and they have a home ownership. You just take care of it more. Unless you're in the military, then you rent like you own, because there's a CO, and all you do is call them, they're not acting right. But that's really my only goal, and that's where I came from in the place of trying to put this together. See, folks, this is what Sunshine Law does. We can't have a conversation until we're sitting right here, and that's why you're watching this happen.
Robbie, I appreciate what you've done, and don't take my thoughts as being unappreciative of that. But I know that in the Glenwood community, there's a lot more that needs to be done than just selling lots and building houses.
Okay.
And that's my fundamental concern. So we sell these lots, the builders come in, they build the homes, and we want them to go to the low to moderate income, the folks that Patty Sunday talked about, but there's no requirement of that in here.
There is. No, there's no.
There's no,
I can't.
this does not have affordability.
It does. There's option in there, there's two options in there. The third one is all about affordability.
Yeah, I would think we could, the next 10, 90 days, we're doing the other 10, and you pick them, and you outline the program that you want to see to help the segment. We can't, I don't want to do a program that attacks every single facet of housing. That's too big. so-
And why do you always hear me as wanting to do 100% in every and all? I
I'm
never
al-
say that.
I'm always offering a step forward. That's all I ever offer. And
But your
I-
interpretation is that I want all 100% everything, and
I
that's not
said,
what I'm
bring us
offering.
10 that you choose on the program that you think would best suit the neighborhood, and we'll just work 10 by 10 and talk through it. And that's what Robbie's done, is offered 10, and we discuss it. If there's any other discussion, please call the roll.
Can we remove option 1?
We have a motion and a second on
It
the
doesn't,
table.
but what it does is it tests the market. Now, we do not have to take any offers. If I take that out, now it's all about low to moderate income, and that may not be what sells, but it may be everything, okay? But we don't have to take that.
We don't.
We don't. And I'm trying to section the market out and say what's working best without us telling them what they have to do. And us telling the public what they have to do is just kind of a standard, and it just doesn't work that well. I'd rather get information from them that says, hey, guys, you're thinking right, or hey, man, pound sand, you missed it.
Yeah, and we might get some creative ideas that we are surprised by, because we don't know everything. Any other discussion?
I have a question, sorry,
Yes,
Mayor. Solicit for 30 days is,
30?
okay.
30 days.
Do you need that?
That's pretty
You gotta
standard.
close in a certain amount of time. There's certain due diligence.
I think that was all listed in here.
It's all in there.
Yeah, it's a good program.
It'll be advertised for 30 days.
Yes.
Please call the roll.
Okay.
Commissioner Lucas?
No.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes,
Motion passes 4-1.
we're going to take a 5-minute recess. We're back.
You're live. Mr. Mayor, you're hot.
I know, I can hear myself. All right, we are on item 11A. Somebody needs to order pizza.
11A.
11A.
All right, you ready?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, consideration 11A, consideration of approval of budget amendment resolution 2026-07-28.3 to provide for the first principal payment on the capital improvement revenue refunding note, series 2025, in an amount not to exceed $73 million. As background information, on August 23rd, 2023, the city issued the $150 million capital improvement revenue note, series 2023, to fund the upfront cost of grant projects awarded by the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. On September 5th, 2025, the Series 2023 note was refunded to extend the term until September 1 of 2027. The city has expended the principal amount of the note on the approved grant projects and is now eligible for repayment. This budget amendment will provide for the first principal payment in an amount not to exceed $73 million. Staff recommends approval.
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Okay, discuss.
Fully support this, think this is amazing. I would just like to see the interest savings go to replenish reserves until such time we have terminated the full note.
I as well.
I will note that interest savings is included in our proposed budget we are developing currently. So we would, if we could not include that in our proposed budget, we would have to go back and make more cuts to the general fund, to all funds, general fund, utilities fund,
Expense cuts or revenue cuts?
more expense cuts.
Why would it be a cut to expenses when we're already paying these payments? So how is it a cut when we paid these payments this last year, correct?
Our interest expense?
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah, so how is it a cut if we've been paying these payments?
because we've budgeted in the budget for 2027 with reflecting the payment of our note.
So you guys already spent this money, is what you're saying?
Once we realized we were going to pay off this money, we did budget in the proposed budget for next year to reduce our interest expense.
I would just encourage as a practice that don't spend the money before we actually get a chance to discuss it from a board's perspective. That would be helpful.
So if I understand what you're saying, you had a high dollar amount that you budgeted for to pay the interest on this loan in past year. And then as we move forward, because you kind of expected us to accept this because we kind of been asking for it, right? The budget moving into 2027, you didn't budget for the same amount, you budgeted for less.
Correct, for interest expense.
So it's not that money is spent, it's that you're just not budgeting for the higher expenditure.
Correct.
How much
That we
money are
no
we
longer
talking about?
have for that payment.
What's that?
How much money are we talking about, the interest savings that we're talking about?
For the general fund, it's around 1.2 million.
What is it for the utilities fund?
I will have to look at
I think it was another 2, if I recall from our meeting.
But that's not money that's just there, that's money that...
Do we have less revenue this year than we had last year?
The point is that they have to budget for it, so it's like, I think you're
They
trying
save
to...
it.
No, I
You don't have to
agree. I
budget
said,
for
but you
it.
can budget it to reserves. You don't have to budget it to go spend it on more programming.
I don't think that's how they would view debt.
So if I understand what's going on here, if this payment was $100, we've paid off X amount, that brings our payment down to $50.
Yep.
And instead of continuing to put in the budget to pay at the $100 rate, they've budgeted for what the new payment will be. Am I understanding that correct?
That is correct.
And what you're proposing, Commissioner Street, is that they keep paying
Yes.
the 100 and not the 50.
And the difference go to reserves.
It goes to reserves. And then that doesn't mean
Oh,
if
not
there's...
pay on the loan, just go to reserves?
Yeah, go to reserves, yes. So I'm saying that we would then replenish, because that's part of the reason why our reserves have gotten to the point where they're at, is we've been paying this interest expense. So it would make sense to me, as you pay off the note, that you take your interest payments and you start replenishing your reserve with those.
But you're also still going to have a payment.
Yeah, you have a reduced payment. We have to pay
So we're
that.
going to cover that. So we're talking about the
delta.
on top of what we were paying. That's the difference we're talking about.
And so it's 1.2 million?
That's just for the general fund.
We forced 4.5 million into reserve.
I mean,
No.
why not just keep paying it off to us?
Just as a reminder, the last, excuse me, the last direction we got from this board regarding the budget was setting an expenditure cap of 64.5 million. So this would be, I mean, in my mind, this would be an additional reduction over that spending cap, or under that spending cap.
I thought that was revenue.
No,
No,
that's expenditure.
expenses.
No, a reserve payment is an expense. What I'm communicating is your expense is your loan payment, and rather than taking off 50% or whatever it is, you budget a replacement or reserve payment instead. It's still a payment. I think what I'm watching, and this is where we have revenues going up, but as soon as we find savings, the expenses go up to match. Like that's an issue. And so even now, we're paying off $73 million of debt that we will not see any effects from to our reserve calculations. Like it will not change any of that. And so that's where I'm like, hey, at some point in time, we've got to say, look, we're going to make a diligent effort. It would still take multiple years for our reserves to be replenished, even doing this amount.
So what would the reserve get each month under that item? That thought? That's
1.2 be like 100 grand a month?
Well, there's that plus you said the environmental fund.
$100,000 a year would go to the general fund reserve, and I think it's like 2-something million that would go back to the utility fund. We're going to do a rate study next year, so if we go and spend and we've got underperforming reserves, that means that the rate study is going to show we got to increase water rates again. And I don't want to be in that spot. I'm just saying I'd rather make the decision now to be a little bit more diligent so we're not sitting here next year trying to scramble and figure out, oh, what do we do?
So why don't we just come up with a policy where we say the city has to operate within a certain percentage of its revenue? Instead of.
Because they'll find more revenue.
Well,
Because what?
Okay, so they find more revenue, great, but the percentage tracks with the revenue.
They'll find more revenue.
But the percentage tracks with revenue, so.
The
city's going to have more revenue, the city's growing, like it's going to get more revenue.
it can cut expenses and have more revenue. We don't have to spend every dollar.
Understood,
we make.
and that's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. That's all I'm
Yeah.
saying though, is to put it at a percentage and just say, hey, and then that percentage of the revenue goes into reserve every year. Until
So we
we
gave
have
them-
so much money, we don't know what to do with it.
I can agree with that, Commissioner Granger. We gave them direction, 64.5 million, give us that budget. Now we're saying we want them to do something differently, that in the general fund is going to be another $1.2 million reconfiguration.
And $2 million in the utilities fund.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, $2 million in the utilities fund, and there is about, in the marina fund, another 180, and equipment maintenance fund is about 30.
But I just don't think it's fair, because sometimes I think we come across as like a schizophrenic boss, where like, some folks are saying, one thing, other folks are saying another, and then all I'm trying to say is we as a board need to tell them what we expect out of them.
When
We
did you guys get the $73 million loan payoff?
What do you mean,
When did you guys get that? When did you guys get the documentation of we're paying off $73 million? Like, I got it when I had my meeting last week. So I don't understand how it can already be calculated into the budget when we haven't even discussed it yet. Like, I'm not being schizophrenic. I'm like dealing with what I've got like in front of me. Like, this is the first time we've been able to talk about it.
But my point is that if the goal is to increase reserves, then we just need to be clear with that goal and just tell staff, we want you to increase reserves. I'm suggesting that if we do that, we do it through a percentage base. That's all I'm saying. So I don't know. It's me. It's like every time something happens, there's always something else.
Well, to Josh's point, we're actually doing something good and paying down some debt.
Yes.
We're saving something.
Yes.
And we're turning around and spending that money when we could save it, or we could put it into, there's a way to do that, we either talk about it now or at the budget meeting, but I tend to ride with you on this, where let's talk about where that money's gonna go now.
I agree.
So it's like a debt snowball.
Because I'm not
Basically what
saying-
he's describing.
I get you, yeah.
Yeah, for the public,
Right.
right? So I'm not opposed to that. I'm just saying is that I think we need to tell them
That's
as
what
a
we're doing.
board what we want.
What would be your
Instead
percentage?
of retroactively saying it.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Do we want to amend the motion?
What would be your percentage?
There's already a motion in a second.
Do we want to amend it, that it goes into reserves?
Well,
Who made the motion?
I didn't make the motion.
Oh,
Brian
he
made
did.
the motion.
Who did?
Brian.
Brian made the motion. You want to amend your motion?
What is
I would rather us just tell them we want this much money or this percentage in reserves. That's what instead of trying to
Brian.
pull the levers and push the
The only thing I
buttons,
would say, we've passed a policy by resolution saying we want this much money in reserves.
and then they worked with it.
There has been no plan that has presented to us. It was only until the commission took action to say, no, here's your revenue number that you're going to work with, that we had any margin going to reserve. There was no budget, and any of the ones that were proposed to us was showing any progress to reserves. I feel like that is not being heard, and I have heard every single one on this dais say reserves is a priority. Well, here's one place that we can make it a priority. And it happens to be it coming out of reserves in previous years, so it makes sense to me that this would be the one. Now, I'm not saying we can fully do this amount. There may have to be something partway through the year that we have to make an adjustment. There's some type of need that we see or something like that. But I think we have to stop find a savings that automatically gets spent someplace else. That part of the budgetary process is not helpful for the elected officials to try and get a handle on what's going on with the finances, and specifically creating objectives like replenishing reserves. At this pace, it would still take us years to replenish reserves. So if that's not how we do it, then the question I would ask is, how do we do it? Because I don't think there's going to be anybody that's going to be palatable to, let's go raise taxes so that we can pay back the money that we already spent. Like that doesn't, that's going to go over like a lead brick. So
I agree.
I'm open to ideas.
Here's an idea. How about we just tell them there's a certain percentage you got to put in reserve every year?
What percent?
It's a great question.
Yeah, it's just easier to work with the number that we have in front of us, which is the amount of money we're saving from paying off a loan early, versus the other way around. We're getting the same, we're going to the same place. but
Yeah.
This number's a little more clear right now than the other number.
Over 12 months, how much money we talk about spending that savings is? You said it's 1.2 total and 2 million over there. What's that interest number that y'all are putting back into the budget? We're saving, if it's $1,000, we're saving 500, you're putting 500 back
It's
in.
1.2 that we're saving in the general fund
Okay.
of interest
Okay,
expense.
so you're gonna, let's divide that out, times two, divided by 2, 50 in the reserve, and 50%
I'm
there and
open.
50% in the general fund? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I was saying that, look, we're
No,
still
no.
paying 50% on this loan note. So
Okay.
there's still a $4 million a year payment that's coming out, just carrying the cost of the loan. I'm saying put all of it in, but if that's not palatable, I would say like, let's pick a number from it. But what I don't think is a good process for us to work is we find savings and then we just go spend it. Like, that's not a good, healthy way of preparing a budget. And so I understand it's more work. I understand like there's those things, but if we don't start getting some type of action plan, the staff always has an opportunity to come and present us something which says, look, this is our exact reserve plan and here's how we're going to replenish it. And if that's what they want to present during the budget process, I'd be more than happy to hear that too. But I haven't gotten that, and so we ran out of money, and so we need to make sure that we make fiduciary good decisions.
Would you, if they came with that and it used some but not all of that savings,
I'd spend $1 million to save two in a heartbeat. I think anybody would do that. So I don't think it's knowing, saying, no, this money can't be spent. It's just got to be spent more intentionally than just absorbing it. Does that make sense what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Good enough.
So,
Yes, we still have the money, right? in case
Yeah.
we need it, and that's the point. It just changes the frame. Yeah, it's in reserve. It changes the frame of how you spend the money versus, it's budgeted versus, it's like you and I taking a vacation with the cash out stocks to go on vacation versus the money's in our checking account. You spend it a little more thrifty when you have to ask the question of where does the money come from?
And Brian, I love your idea of having a requirement to save. I think that's great. It's the percentage that we're gonna have to set on a certain number. And I think all I've heard around here is like 16 or 13, and 13% of what? And in this particular case, are we only talking about what the interest savings are, or a number overall of savings that we've got to have in there? I'm lost on where's that money coming from, the interest savings, or just in general, we got to have 20% in
I'm
reserve?
saying in general. I'm
Okay.
talking about, I'm trying to address the
Okay.
overall issue, not necessarily this budgetary item. I'm trying to address the overall where we all kind of want the same goal, but it seems like we have all these kind of just different ways to try to get there. And all I'm saying is that I think if we just told staff flat out, we're not gonna approve a budget unless we see X amount in reserves, then they can figure out how to get from A to B. They can figure out if they need to use this money or that money or what have you. And we end up with our result, which is we're just not going to approve a budget unless it has this in it.
And I can support that and agree with that. And I would suggest that we pass what's been motioned and seconded, and then entertain the reserve question at this time.
I'll just add, we did not use reserves for FY '26, and what we've proposed is selling property to refund the
And that's wrong
reserves.
one.
Yep.
They put in the budget before it closed last year, the $2.8 million sale. And I kind of lost my mind on that, because you're counting it before it's there. The same is applicable here, is using that. I do agree that that's something that step should come after whatever transaction, if that was going to happen. But we shouldn't have to sell something or do something in order each year to move forward.
Well,
That's
one of
the
the
planning
problems-
is what we need to do better.
So he said put it in reserves. They sold something, put it in reserves. Now the year before that, we sold something, put it in operations. Yeah, actual operations. And so this board then said, hey, we don't want to see any one-time revenue sources being used to fund
recurring expenses.
operations. So they took that, they sold some property, put it in reserves. So all that, to me, selling property and putting it in reserves is the same thing as if you had gold sitting on the shelf or some coins or something of value, and you just went and hawked it, right? Or sold it, right? And got your cash value out of that.
But you can't do that and do housing initiatives and
But
do.
not all,
you
not
know,
all the
start-
stores.
That's the,
All Panama
that's the
store
challenge.
lots.
All I'm saying is
Yeah.
that when we're standing here saying, oh, we've got all these reserve issues, we've got a ton of property. And to me, that's kind of like gold on the shelf.
It is, but remember, there's CRA, there's housing, and there's Panama City. Anything that's Panama City, it can go straight into the reserve.
Yeah.
CRA has its own set of rules, and so I
very
agree with
little.
you, 100%.
So-
Six in Harmon, there's whatever it sells for, goes straight into reserves.
So do we want to,
But that's
I
different
think we
from the
should move
conversation
forward
we
with
were
this,
just
like
having
she's
about
suggesting.
creating neighborhoods
I-
and selling
and
those
then we
properties
can-
and putting
if-
those monies back
make it
into
clear.
the
That goes in
neighborhoods
housing.
If
for
there's
which
not an
they came
amended
out.
But that
motion,
goes in
I will
housing,
retract
not
my second.
to reserves.
so there's not a minute motion, you're
I'll
retracting your
retract my
second.
second.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. Any discussion on the motion on the table?
I'd just like to say, I still feel like we need to be diligent.
Well, you can
in
make
putting
another
these
motion.
I like
We can make
clean
another
motions. I don't like getting stuff tacked on.
I
all the
understand.
time.
I
That kind of
understand.
stuff.
Okay, so we have a motion on the table to accept the the budget amendment resolution. And any other discussion related to accepting it? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
No.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
Commission has approved Resolution 2026-0728.3, a resolution providing for the amendment of the approved fiscal year 25-26 budget to provide for the first principal payment on the capital improvement revenue refunding note series 2025.
Commissioner Hughes has something to say.
I'd like to take this interest savings that we're talking about and let's put that in a box of outside of the budget right now, and let's take that out of filling in the spots of income. And let's see what it looks like. Brandy said I have to make some more cuts, that's fine. And then we can backfill if we need to. Why do we want to use all of that to make it work when we can see what, from the staff's perspective, how they're seeing what it does?
So I can understand, you're saying that it could go to reserves, it could go to something else, but we're going to separate it, keep it over here while we go through the budget process, and we'll determine where it goes to
Right.
at
not
sometime during the budget process.
Right.
I'll second that motion.
Okay, any discussion?
Yeah, what's the motion?
The motion is to take the interest savings and set it aside separately and earmark it for later, or whatever the proper term might earmark.
Budget discussion's we'll find a home for it.
And I would encourage, I think what would be helpful from a staff exercise perspective is if you're proactive and you can bring us a plan, 5-year plan to replenish reserves, you can do those things, like that might actually, sway some opinions on mine. Until I see a plan, I have to make a plan. And that's what it feels like. I'm in the driver's seat. I think all of us feel that way as a commission to replenish these reserves because we haven't gotten an actual stated plan to doing so, that we all can agree to.
We have a motion and a second on the table. Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
And I just want to echo what Commissioner Street has said. We've requested, since we had a workshop on the budget, for a 5-year plan to reserve, to replenish the reserves. And we've not gotten that. So I echo that concern.
Moving to 12A.
All right, item 12A is consideration to set the proposed millage rate and the date, time, and meeting place of the tentative budget hearing for FY 2027 for the City of Panama City and the Downtown Improvement Board. As background information, pursuant to Florida Statutes 200.0652B, the City Commission shall, within 35 days of certification of value, notify the property appraiser of its proposed millage rate, maximum to be used on trim notices, rolled-back rate, and the date, time, and place of the public hearing to be held to consider the tentative millage rate and the tentative budget. Staff recommendation through the City Manager's Office is that the following proposed millage rate maximum are recommended for approval. General Fund 4.7999 and the Downtown Improvement Board 3.000. These are both unchanged from the current millage rate. Staff recommends additionally the following dates for the budget hearings. The first budget hearing would be Tuesday, September 8th, 2026, beginning at 5:01 p.m. The second budget hearing would be Tuesday, September 22nd, 2026, at 5:01 p.m. Both meetings will be held here in the County Commission chambers. Mr. Mayor?
I will entertain a motion.
Motion we keep same millage.
Second.
I'll second. I have a question. Those two September, what happens at those? When do we see the staff's total budget?
Sometime in
September the 8th?
No. Well, sometime in August you'll see it, but you will formally vote on it on September 8th and then September 22nd. I already turned the page.
We'll be providing
So-
you with a proposed budget
Yeah.
here shortly.
Right.
once
Yeah.
we
Like
can-
in the next,
Well, it
once
was
we
going to be the
cut
next 2
another
weeks
three
until we
something
just
million
got
out of it.
Revise it, so.
Yeah, yeah, they got
and-
revised.
right.
It's gonna set them back a bit.
But September 8th and September 22nd will be the tentative and final hearings for the budget adoption and the millage rate adoption.
I do want us to point out that this approval of this rate, should we proceed forward of keeping it at the same, represents another $700,000 worth of revenue to the city. That is an increase.
Estimated.
So, estimated.
Could be
That is
more,
correct.
could be less.
It could be more, could be less. So just so that we understand, we're working
not
with a
cutting.
larger budget than we worked with last year.
Agreed. Any other discussions? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
What are we voting?
Voting on the
12.
setting the proposed
Yes.
millage rate. Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
12B.
All right, item 12B is discussion of interviews that you all have executed and the next steps for the city clerk treasurer charter position for our city. Earlier today, and also provided a copy on each of your positions at the dais. Received a memo from HR Director Vicki Lewis, just recapping where we are and options moving forward. And then addressing also through email one of the candidates that failed to be responsive to set up the interview. So, Mr. Mayor, staff just was looking for direction on how you and your colleagues would like to move forward with the city clerk treasurer position.
Yeah, happy to open up discussion. I had two great interviews with the two
Yeah.
folks I spoke to. Man, they're sharp.
I think we should move
The
both
lady
of
that
them
flexible.
forward.
I agree.
What
Is that
did
a
Greg
motion?
say?
I'll motion to move both of them forward.
I'll second.
That we what?
Move both forward.
Yeah.
Now, in addition to that, I would suggest that we do both the reference and background checks.
Okay.
Agreed. Yeah, stellar interviews by both of them, huge amount of expenses. I would encourage us all to go back and look at our previous year's audits and see what recommendations inside of our structure that have been inside of those. I think that would be very helpful as we shape this position moving forward and potentially what other positions need to be hired as well.
Can staff circulate those audits for us? Mr. Hayes,
What was the question?
good evening. Can you circulate those memos related to the budget, the audits recommendations?
Sure.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second on the table. Is there any further discussion?
So we move those forward, get background checks, references, and then is somebody making a recommendation to us, or do we have that open discussion? I've never been through this.
We'll get to decide ultimately how it works. I would recommend that we have individual interviews, meaning that we as a board in a public setting like this would interview one, ask questions, however many we agree to, while the other one is not present, and then swap them out. And then ultimately they both leave and we get to deliberate on who we want to pick, or if we want to pick.
Both have an extensive background in municipal grants, all sorts of other stuff.
Oh, yeah.
So
Super sharp.
auditing,
Super sharp.
I mean, I think everybody should be really pleased with what we came back with.
Yep. Any further discussion?
Well, so you wanting us to schedule, a special meeting? I think we
Well, we
need,
want them to pass their background check first.
No, I'm not worried about that. Let's assume both these outstanding ladies pass the background check. How fast are y'all wanting us to set up a special meeting and coordinate that?
30 days?
Yeah, I'd
Okay.
say in the next
All
year.
right, and you want them separate?
It wouldn't be a workshop.
Well, same meeting, but just one
Special
outside, I guess.
Okay.
Is what Brian was saying?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what we did for the city manager.
No, ma'am.
Oh,
Nope.
no.
Myself and the other candidate were both down
No,
front.
not
We
do that
answered the
again.
same questions.
No.
That was really,
Thunderdome.
It's separate
Two clerks
interviews.
enter.
Separate interviews.
Yeah. I think it needs to be separate interviews.
Separate, sounds fine. Any other discussion?
thank you.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 12C is consideration to approve budget amendment resolution number 20260728.5 to accept donations for 13 local businesses for our annual back-to-school backpack giveaway event in the amount of $5,850.00. As background information, 13 local businesses generously donated $5,850.00 to support our annual back-to-school backpack giveaway event. This initiative provides backpacks and school supplies to children in our community. Without the backing of our community, we wouldn't be able to distribute 600 backpacks filled with supplies this coming school year. Staff recommendation to the Director of PCR is that the Commission approve this request and the resolution.
I will entertain a motion to accept.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, generous businesses.
I am terribly sorry, but Ms. Lewis did point out something to me that I think we need to address and ask Mr. Zimmerman. I don't believe we can actually prevent anyone from coming into a public meeting. Is that correct? I think that was one of the reasons why we did the city manager interview the way we did. So, sorry to put you on the spot, but I didn't want to,
No, we can ask them.
yeah.
I didn't,
Just
did
sit
we
out
say
there while
that?
the interview's happening.
No,
Yeah.
you're saying if you have one sitting outside,
Yeah.
then not, then.
Oh,
Yeah.
if they want to
If they
come in.
wanted
and
to
they
come
wanna
in
sit-
there.
If they wanted to come in,
Oh, I see.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
fine.
just remember, and she triggered it, this conversation did come up, I think, 2.5 years ago.
You could
so-
always ask them to remain outside, but they are
As
not
a
legally
courtesy.
obligated to go outside.
Yeah. Gotcha.
So, anyway, I just wanted to point that out. All right. Moving into item 12D.
Nevin, we need to read the resolution.
Oh, sorry.
Excuse me. Resolution number 20260728.5, a resolution providing for the amendment of the approved fiscal year 25-26 budget to accept and expend donations from 13 businesses for the city's back-to-school backpack giveaway.
Item 12D is consideration of a request for proposals for the property located at 2215 East 3rd Street. As background information, at the June 23, 2026 City Commission meeting, the Commission discussed the disposition of the vacant property at 2215 East 3rd Street with parcel ID 22545-000-000. Following the discussion, the Commission voted 4-0 to advertise an RFP for this property to encourage a cottage court development. In response to the Commission's direction, staff prepared the attached RFP for Commission review this evening. This item is being presented to obtain any additional guidance or direction from the Commission prior to issuance of the solicitation. Staff seeks guidance from the Commission on any potential changes and or to proceed as originally directed to post this solicitation. Mr. Mayor?
Yes, I will entertain a motion to accept the RFP.
So moved.
I wasn't here, so I'm going to second, because I guess you guys discussed this already. So.
We have a motion and a second on the table to accept. Is there any discussion?
Trust them.
So we're just putting it out there.
Do it again.
Yep, 100%.
Okay, any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
All right, item 12E is consideration of the Glenwood redevelopment initiatives, including proposed ground leases for city-owned properties at 1332 MLK Boulevard and 1346 North Palo Alto Avenue, and adoption of the SPARK program, standing for Small Business Property Activation Redevelopment Kickstart, proposed by Mayor Branch. As background information, staff, at the request of Mayor Branch, request consideration of 2 redevelopment actions and implementation of the SPARK program within the Glenwood CRA for City Commission review and direction. These items are intended to move underutilized city-owned properties into productive use and establish a consistent framework for future redevelopment proposals. You have background information further explaining and addressing the piece of property at 1332 MLK Boulevard, at 1346 North Palo Alto Avenue, and the SPARK program. Staff recommends the City Commission review the proposed redevelopment initiatives, provide direction on 1, the requested ground lease, 2, the disposition of the Palo Alto property, and 3, consider the adoption of the SPARK program as the standardized framework for future redevelopment of eligible city-owned properties within the Glenwood CRA. Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, I'm a little jealous of Robbie, and he presents a plan first, and gets it adopted. I've been waiting over 1.5 years for mine, and
You're saying about 6
we can
months.
clearly see.
You built the groundwork, Mayor. You built the groundwork.
Motion to table?
Motion denied.
We're just waiting for that spark.
Yeah, we're just waiting for the spark. So we kind of have a framework already, but I'm up for any idea that gets properties in the hands of the neighborhood doing great things. That's my goal, and I think we're all on the same page there. And this is just what I've been pushing and trying to get something done. So tell me what we're going to do.
I'd like to put forward a motion to approve with legal going through any of the ranking criteria, making sure we're in the line with whatever Florida statute allows, and let's try it.
I'll second that.
So
ground leasing, when you ground lease, we can get property taxes. And so if we're gonna, the way I think I read it was, you ground lease for like up to a year, trying to figure out what you're gonna do. Any objection to having property taxes being paid? If we're leasing it for a year?
Yeah, I'm up for it, totally. I'm up for anything that gives entrepreneurs a chance to get their feet going and get something, testing. So
I like a 99-year ground lease, and if you're just not performing, then you just get it. You cancel the lease. But I'm not trying to change this. I'm just saying if it's with some of the properties that I've looked at. I like the city holding the ownership of the property, doing the ground lease. That's one of the things I like about that. But
So we talked about this as a pilot. And with it as a pilot, I met with Alicia Glass Rhodes. I've talked with Schwartz Gaynor, and I'd like to see us pilot this with these 2 properties for a time certain, and then review before we open it up to everybody. And then that way we can take into consideration what we learn with this pilot program.
Does the adoption of the Spark program then put the property in North Palo Alto through that program, or are we accepting Mr. Gainer's offer of 20 grand?
If it's part of the Spark program, I think it should be,
Okay, so it's put through that matrix.
yes.
Okay.
And we have the Incremental Development Alliance as an option, and I'd like to see both of these pilots be a part of that Incremental Development Alliance, because that was one of the reasons we created it, so that they could learn what they get the support going through the process. I'd hate to put this out there and then they don't have support to run through the additional steps that they learn in the Incremental Development Alliance.
Okay, I totally agree, and I want to add that we potentially need to show them the list of properties that we have for them to go, okay, this one makes sense for me, because then they can start speccing out based on the knowledge that they're learning and the lots that we have. And we have to adjust our program to suit those people who are spending over a year now learning, like how they apply it. They can start applying.
Well, yeah, I
their
think
knowledge.
there's an adjustment process that could be
Brian, you
had.
have a good point. The only way to get a mortgage on these properties is 99 years. So and I don't know if that's a plan, if I'm gonna build out of our pocket or what, but that's the only way you'd have to be able to do that. But I don't think that's what Alan's proposal is it's up front, it's kind of investigate, and then move into something long-term. Is that correct?
Correct.
Right.
This is just a
All right.
initial lease.
Because with the ground lease, what we're doing is testing the plan, the project.
And we may have to stand up specialized grants for MLK based on information that they find in their due diligence on that road. So
Exactly.
she's gonna be learning a lot with us together. So we have a motion and a second on the table. Any other
I do have
discussion?
one more question.
Yes, sir.
In earlier proposal, that we talked about not being able to get a benefit from in the lot proposal and also into the demo plan of CRA. I just think that if you're gonna get it, you should be able to get one break, not two. And these are in CRAs. Is that something that is built in or not?
No,
And I don't know, they need that help.
Yeah, in this document, there's no prohibitive language that says you can't go after a CRA grant. In my personal opinion, those little tiny lots on MLK, because of stormwater and parking, and it almost is a negative. Because by the time you get to doing all those things, you're going in and you build it up past the road, you're in $30,000 in just dirt.
Oh, yeah.
So it's not that. These are very hard problems to overcome, and we're gonna have to be very creative, even with our grants of, I'd hate to set those parameters now, like, we're not gonna help you when she's about to find out how hard it's gonna be an uphill battle.
So
It's my
Nevin,
personal opinion.
replatting MLK, we own the majority of the dirt. How hard is it to replat?
Well, a replat?
The
Yeah,
vacant dirt.
the vacant dirt, yeah. Well, the vacant dirt and improved, and everybody has to agree, right?
No, I mean, it depends on the plat. Those are old plats.
Right.
So I doubt that there's any criteria. You can split lots, you could take 3 lots and turn them into seven lots. I mean, I think you can just replat, not the entire plat, obviously, just those portions.
And where I'm going with it is,
But that's, Michael Fuller can better answer that, but the answer is, I believe, there is flexibility.
okay, and there really are, there's some lots in MLK that you gotta move onto the next lot to change your mind, it's so small, okay? So what I'm thinking is, the owner of that lot they didn't do that to themselves, and we have the ability to maybe give some dirt that way, different, you change the lines and make that lot buildable and usable. That's a way to automatically change things. But we have to remember something. We can make it be as inviting as possible. Somebody's got to want to take the risk, spend their money, and do all that, but we can set it up. And that's just an idea.
I think we're gonna have to go block by block, and
Yeah.
as each person comes to us and says, I need help, we're gonna have to be like, ooh, all right, let's get to the hurdles together, because it's gonna be a tough road to get going.
Commissioner Street, I'd like to respectfully request that you withdraw your motion so that I may make it for the Spark program in Ward 2.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so we're shifting the motion to Commissioner Lucas. We have a motion and a second on the table. Any further discussion?
Do you agree that there's a motion on the table?
Yes.
Okay.
Is someone choose?
I'm just making sure.
I was confused. I didn't know whether motion was changing or anything.
It's all good.
Say, yeah.
Any further discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 12F is consideration of an unsolicited offer for 2215 East 3rd Street in the Millville neighborhood from Prosperity Builders. City staff received an unsolicited offer of interest from Prosperity Builders on June 13, 2024 regarding 2215 East 3rd Street in the Millville neighborhood. The offer expresses a desire to negotiate and conduct due diligence to develop mixed-use affordable housing on the property. Property is currently zoned neighborhood general. NG allows a building containing a mixture of uses such as retail and residential. If the commission desires to divest of this property, staff recommends following the unsolicited bid process and issuing an RFP to solicit any other interested parties. I would say staff request direction from the commission, but I believe we received it earlier on item 12D where y'all voted to go to RFP on this property. So I think this particular item is probably moot at this point.
Or we
Or
could
is as a
consider that,
response.
this is on here because we never responded to him.
No, we
No,
did.
we didn't. His original one, we didn't. And the reason this is because there was one at the last meeting that was going to run through, and I thought it was fair that he have a shot at this. Now, if we want to consider undoing that and treating this as an unsolicited offer, I'd be open to that discussion, but I at least want to acknowledge that it's here because he submitted an unsolicited offer and it was not acknowledged by us, and that's why I wanted it on here.
Yeah, what you'll see is the common unsolicited offers are hard for us to figure out. That's the common, what part of town or who you are, they're tough. And so I do think now that his response falls under our RFP, is my personal opinion. And so to me, this is kind of a moot point at this point.
Agreed.
I would agree.
Yeah,
Let's move on.
I would like to see it considered, obviously. in the
100%,
RFP
yeah.
response.
And this is a
So-
developer who's doing stuff in the neighborhood.
Unless they choose to amend it.
Yeah.
They could choose to.
Yes, they can obviously choose
So-
to update.
What's the difference between 12D, which is 2215 East 3rd Street?
That's the RFP we voted on in that.
To put out for RFP.
Yeah.
So we've already put an
Yeah,
RFP
right.
out
Well-
for this.
Right. And so
So
he's,
what's the discussion?
I think the confusion is some RFPs seem to get responded to and other ones do not.
Which
And-
is why
and
I
the
propose that
response,
we-
some end up back here, some of them don't.
Which is why I propose that we determine a going forward way of addressing unsolicited proposals by saying we are putting together this disposition process, we're putting together this land disposition policy, and now everyone falls under that. Looking back at everyone who has permitted or submitted a proposal, looking at those who fall within the guidelines that we already have set that we need to respond to within X period of time. But we just keep rolling along, encouraging unsolicited proposals and exasperating the very problem that you just outlined, Commissioner Street.
I think that both of the ideas, the 12 lot and the Spark, that's going to give us some direction on how to process, which, go through it one time, Janice, and we might get it. And we'll have that plan. I think we need to experience that.
Yeah, I don't see it
And
as.
I'm with you on that.
I think grouping properties together, making sure that we're doing, like Spark, I think is going to work incredibly well on commercial corridors. Robbie's has the potential of working really well on residential properties. What we're doing with neighborhood evolution on basically a commercial property that's over in St. Andrews. I think all of these are different iterations. It may not be the one size fits all kind of approach, but they are progress into a direction. And yes, it is messy. And so I think that's one of the things. It's like, look, if there's not one of us that's sponsoring bringing forward one of these unsolicited proposals, like, sure, it just needs to sit on a shelf. But if there's somebody up on this dais that's willing to champion something, then great. Like, I'm willing to listen and hear what you've got to say, and maybe we come out with something we can execute with it.
I absolutely agree. Move on to 12G.
12G.
All right, item 12G is consideration of an unsolicited offer for the property located at 1342 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard with parcel ID 17367-000-000 in the downtown North CRA district from the American Legion Post. Relevant background information is enclosed in your packet. Staff requests the direction of the commission on the unsolicited offer at 1342 Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard. Any revenue received will replenish the general fund reserves.
Why? It's in the CRA.
I like this letter right there. Like micro, remember the micro machines commercials?
It's not a CRA parcel though, it wasn't purchased with CRA dollars.
What was it purchased with?
General,
It was?
general fund.
Yeah. It's general fund.
Are we sure?
I believe Ms. Waldron. We've confirmed it. Yep.
Yeah, I think it's a CRA property.
Is it? Okay, it says
Yeah,
it's
so it should
located.
go back to
We'll have to
CRA.
verify that then.
Yeah, so
Then it would go to CRA.
I love gathering spaces like this. They're very important for communities of seeing each other and bumping into each other. I like the letter. The letter talks about getting the building going in a couple of years, and I think this. What we don't want to do is set ourselves up for failure, and so I like the idea. Run through the Spark program or some other lease, or what we're doing with Alicia, where it's a couple of years ago, figure something out. But I love the idea of American Legion Post there. I think it's a great idea. Gathering space, third space is what they're called. So.
I would like to hear from Ms. Bryant, if she would.
Yeah, we have options too. We could RFP it or lease it or sell it.
We
or-
did.
What now?
On this side, we RFP'd it. Yeah, all right.
Michelle Bryant, 49 East 9th Street. So for some clarification, this actually started out in the CRA because during the unsolicited bid, it was advised that this was a CRA property. So it went out for RFP in September. No one else replied. And so I asked the city manager to place it on hold so that we could potentially utilize the Spark program to get to a place of a final price, which is utilizing the fact that this is going to be one in the community, ran by community members. It will offer jobs, and it will be, as the mayor just mentioned, a community space for youth and adult activities. And so going back to the conversation about whether it was CRA or the city, it started out in the CRA for us to submit this bid.
I just double-checked the master file list, and it is a CRA property. So
Okay, thank you.
Our agenda request, it would go back into CRA, downtown North.
So a question I have is how quickly will you move forward with building in dirt in the ground? How much time do you need?
So with what we're seeing with the Spark program and aligning ourselves up with that, whatever that guideline is, that is what we're committing to. So I think it was 1 to 3 years, correct me if I'm wrong, from the initial start to completion for this project to be done. And if you look at the original bid that we submitted, we have the full support of the American Legion in the state of Florida.
Yeah, the letter says the project will be completed in 3 years. So that could always be a part of the agreement where it has to be CO'd or, we can always be flexible if you run into material issues, that kind of stuff. But what we want is just seeing progress. But we don't want to set you up for failure either.
Yeah.
Right.
What's the 1 year that they have to have plans and permits and everything in 1 year, and then?
I think so. I think it said 1 year in the original Spark documents.
And so the next question I have is this the body, since it's a CRA project?
I was about to ask the same thing.
Yeah.
Do we have to vote on this at a CRA meeting, or can we do it here?
The CRA meeting.
Yeah, CRA meeting. You gotta put your CRA hat on.
I'm all in, so.
Do we need to do any action to move this towards the Spark program while we're here?
That was my question.
So, yeah.
So she could work with staff on the Spark program and come back with what the offer would be.
Could we just have that on the next CRA agenda? It's like,
Because we also have to approve Spark for CRA.
I think we need to clarify.
We haven't done that.
Both bodies have to vote to dispose of city
I
property.
didn't mean you don't vote. I did say that, but that's not what I meant. What I meant was both vote. In other words, it's titled in the name of the city. Typically, it goes to the CRA. The CRA says, you run the notice. We may have already run this notice a few months ago. So CRA approves it, then it comes back to the city. But you could do it either way. I mean, if you want to vote on it now, as the city commission, subject to the CRA approving it at the next
What he
meeting,
said.
then it would be
Make that a
done.
motion.
He can't
I
make
make that a
motion.
motion. I said, I make.
So moved.
What he said.
There you go. Yeah, so moved.
Right, so your motion is to approve it contingent upon CRA approving.
Approve it.
Right.
Yes.
So that's your motion.
That's my motion. Yes, ma'am.
And Josh has seconded it. Is there any conversation?
Okay. Unanimous. James, do you want a second?
And I think, Ms. Waldron, I think we have enough time, barely, we can squeeze it on the August 4th agenda, because I think we'll be finalizing that in the morning for the CRA board. So, good time. Yep.
Any other discussion?
Sure, I'll second it. Your motion,
My,
Robbie.
my
Yes,
man.
it takes.
Here, I withdraw it.
Oh,
Janice, I'll second hers.
I'll move that we approve this, send it for disposition, send it to the CRA.
We got a
I'll second that.
Okay, any discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Item 12H is consideration of an unsolicited offer of 805 East Avenue. As background information, city staff received an unsolicited offer from Ms. Lisa Franklin expressing an interest in purchasing the city-owned property located at 805 East Avenue with parcel ID 15892-000-000 for $300,000. This property is located within the downtown North Community Redevelopment Area. The parcel is zoned Neighborhood General. The offer is contingent upon the city removing existing water and city utilities associated with temporary housing installed following Hurricane Michael. Ms. Franklin requests a 30-day closing period following an acceptance of the offer. Staff requests direction of the commission on the unsolicited offer. Any revenues received will replenish general fund reserves. I'll just point out, though, we did confirm this is owned by the housing, or was paid for by the housing, and they have a community services department, and they have $320,875.79 in it. I did point that out to Ms. Franklin on the phone earlier, and she acknowledged that they would be more than happy to increase their offer from $300,000 to $320,875.79 as requested and required. Additionally, the question was asked about the underground utilities and the impact fee credits that they have that. Ms. Franklin pointed out to me that her husband retired from the city of Callaway after 30 years working in the utilities department, and they would prefer that all of those underground pipes and everything be gone, and they start with a fresh, clean piece of property. I made sure she understood the credits that were there, and she said, my husband has 30 years' experience in the underground utilities and would like all of that removed. So I think in their mind, they consider it a liability, and so that's why they would like any of those pipes removed.
So in as much as we have begun the RFP process as a method of operation, I would consider that we would do that as well in this particular project.
So you want to put that for our...
So there was a letter that we received from the Florida Housing Corporation that identified 5 lots that came through the SHIP and HHRP in the 2020 and 2021 buying of dirt. Talking to the Housing Corporation, the city had 3 years to develop it or to sell it, and they have not. And so in the letter, it identifies one of these, and I bring this to your attention because of general reserve funds. And the total is $1.299 million that we owe Florida Housing Corporation out of these 5 lots. Or we can sell them, okay? 309 Elm, 805 Northeast Avenue, 1321 Gulf, 1120 MLK, and Horizon Park. Do y'all have that letter?
No.
All right. Staff has that letter.
We might have that letter.
No, sir.
I don't have that one.
And so this money, and this letter is specific about where it goes, who it's paid back to. So the agenda item is wrong because it goes back to reserve, but it shouldn't say that. Okay? So my question to Jonathan is, why don't we have the letter?
I'd have to confirm what letter you're talking about, Mr.
Jonathan, the letter that you received from the Florida Housing Corporation through Sheila.
Is
You
that
have
the,
it.
is that the email, or is,
It's
I believe it's just an email. I don't think there's not an actual formal letter yet.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
Jared went and got it for me out of his
Yeah,
office.
it's an update to a letter he's currently drafting. But
It's a letter from the
Correct.
Florida Housing Corporation that I asked for. And it specifically says what we have to do with these properties. And that has not been considered in this agenda item because we don't have it. And I'm very concerned about that.
Yeah.
So
It sounds like we need to table this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm happy to have that tabled, and I'm happy to
We
try to
can
get
sell
that
it.
letter
The money's just got to
ASAP.
go back to housing.
So I do want to, I think you're bringing up a point that I've brought up a couple times, Robbie, is that there is some information that we're not getting access to regarding these specific funding sources. And I think that as we go through this audit period, that we need to follow through with some of the things that have been recommended to us in our audits in previous years and actually bring someone in for compliance. And so that's a component that we have not done. It is not actually in our audit scope to do compliance audits. But these letters versus other things, I do think that we need to have access to those as they come in. Ultimately, this board, the 5 of us, not a staff member, not anyone else, we are held responsible. So at the end of the day, I would like to know, I don't want to be surprised like this. I wouldn't want to surprise you guys like this. I don't want to be surprised like this. And if there is information that we're lacking on this agenda item, then that is something that we need to do an internal evaluation on how that information is actually getting
And all I'm saying is that this money needs to go back to housing per this letter. And not to general fund.
I agree, but we should have had access to that letter.
Yeah, and so there's a number of issues we're pointing out, but Commissioner Lucas, your point was RFP, put this up RFP.
Yes,
Okay,
and
I'm fair with that.
include we'll take out the utilities?
Yeah.
That'll be part of the
If-
RFP
if
that we
someone
want to
wants
sell
to-
it without.
If somebody wants it, because
I would
I would
Sell
want
that
that.
for what we have in it.
Yeah,
Like,
some people.
It's hundreds of thousands of
Yeah.
dollars worth
To
of
Commissioner Street's point,
worth of
someone may want it. There is
infrastructure.
value depending on what you'd like, because there are a
Yeah.
lot of impact fee credits with that property. So
I mean, just the
we could
piping
make
in
it
of itself.
optional.
I don't want us to put any more money into it.
Right.
That's what I'm concerned about, is if we have to take it up, that's just more money that we're pouring into the property.
What if we got if Mrs. Franklin's husband told us what it would cost, and we, to your point, credits, and because they're paying cash, you can do that in a credit,
It's a great
and you
idea.
can do that. It just shows on the closing statement.
Those could be listed.
Yes, sir, please.
Oh, yes, sir, come on forward. I didn't know you were here. Good evening.
And it is evening.
How's everybody doing? 2932 Patricia Ann Lane.
What's your name?
John Franklin.
Awesome.
Yeah. I would, far as the utilities, we're not talking about far as the utilities, far as the power. My concern is just removing all of the grinder stations. There's 31 there, and the piping, which is already on top of the ground.
Yeah, you might not need 31 grand stations.
I thought I said
Yeah.
pipes. If I didn't say pipes, I could have sworn I
We're
did.
not talking water,
Yeah.
we're not talking sewer, we're just talking grinder stations and the force mains that's on top of the ground.
That were set up for the
FEMA
trailers
trailers.
after the storm.
Trailers.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Makes total sense.
It's
We might
very
have a
simple.
Liquidation sale and grinders.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Hey, we can move those to Kings
Yeah,
Point.
move those to Kings
Kings
Point.
Point.
As a matter of fact, I'm not kidding.
No?
Like, that could help,
We could have
some
like
people
a
get on.
garage sale.
No,
Yeah, flea market.
that's the biggest expense in connecting to the Kings Point system. I'm not kidding.
That's
Like,
great
a-
feedback. We
that's a
probably want
great
to
idea.
include any sort of
Yeah.
stuff.
Yep,
engineering
absolutely.
and stuff like that.
So that could be a part of the RFP, that would not be included in the sale, those grinders and stations.
Just a grind.
As a clarification question,
If they still work.
they made an unsolicited offer that didn't really go anywhere. We brought it back. We know that we have to sell this. We're now under the gun on that. It's the only piece of property that I've been able to look at of these 5 that we're going to get back what we paid for. Okay? Thank you for that, sir. I would recommend that we sell it because we've approved other things tonight on an unsolicited basis. And they have a plan for it. But
I want to see the letter now that you've brought it up.
Okay.
Probably
I'll show it to you on my phone.
Before we go to, I do want to ask though, so this came in on April 20th? So how did it get to here at this point? Like just curiosity.
Because
Did you bring it forward?
I
Okay.
called him
All right.
and asked for it to come back.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay.
So is there a motion to put it out for RFP?
I think Janice did one.
Yes, I did.
I'll second.
And second,
Are
is
there
discussion?
any requirements on the RFP or just what anybody wants to propose?
That the 31 grinder stations will be removed, they're not part of the sale.
Okay.
And we do have a minimum, or do we even put that in there? We know we've got it, we can't sell it for less than what we owe on it.
That's right.
Yeah. So you should put a.
328, I think is what Jonathan said, right?
No, I'm sorry, sir. 320, 875.79.
875.
And to my recollection in talking about this property, that house is not part of it.
You're right.
It's showing up on the property appraisers, but that house is zoned, is not a
Owned by.
part of that.
2 years after we bought it, there was a quick claim deed taking that piece out. Apparently, we were supposed to buy 3 acres, and we bought 5. And
Is that-
it was a scrivener's error, I'm told. And you know, legal descriptions are what you buy. And so I think that was what I was understanding.
Yes, ma'am.
Sheila Ware, Housing and Community Services. The house is part of it. The error was when the legal description was done, there are some commercial buildings in front of it. They were included in the legal description. And then there was a quitclaim deed done to take those parcels out. So the house was always a part of it.
And that's
So the
where he was
house is
running his
part of the
business out of,
sale?
right?
Yes.
Okay.
So then we need to make sure that we state that it's got a house on it.
It
Any other-
does, yeah. I mean, I drove all over the lot, yeah, it does.
Any other discussion? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
No,
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 4-1.
that's not against y'all, that's against the RFP, by the way.
Motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Wow.
Do I have a second to adjourn?
Second.
Please call the roll.
Commissioner Lucas?
Yes.
Commissioner Granger?
Yes.
Commissioner Street?
Yes.
Commissioner Hughes?
Yes.
Mayor Branch?
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.